Episode 97. Thanks so much for coming on.
Nice to meet you.
So, I gotta ask, how do you get in to tattoo artistry? Like, what?
How did I? Or
Yeah, how did
does the
you
common man get
personally,
into
like,
it?
what? Were you an artist growing up?
Yeah, so my mother is an artist, and so I grew up painting in watercolors and oil. And she always said to me, it's great to be an artist, but to be an artist and actually get paid is a
Yeah,
whole different thing.
it really is. Yeah, I struggle with that myself.
Yeah, so, that kind of stuck with me. And
Keep talking. I can grab something.
the moment I could find somebody to do a tattoo on me, I think I was about 12 years old, I had them do it. And then 2 weeks later, I went back and got another one and bought his machine off of him.
Really?
And I realized that, like,
At 12?
I was about 12 and a half, yeah.
Really? So you had a passion for tattoos then, not just art.
Well, the tattoo thing, it was just art at first, but what I had ADD really bad growing up,
Yeah.
And I realized that if I tattooed myself, then I could sit down and write an essay afterwards.
Okay.
It's pretty much what got me through school. I would tattoo myself when my parents would go to bed at night.
Really?
And then I'd be good for like a week. I'd be calm. Yeah.
What do you think is it about that?
Well, when you get tattooed, your body releases endorphins,
Right.
just like you're working out.
Okay. Really?
Mm-hmm.
No kidding. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
So it's some kind of chemical reaction. I don't know, but I was pretty much obsessed at that point.
Right on.
But it wasn't allowed in my family. Like nobody had tattoos in my family. I come from a military family.
Yeah, right.
And so I spent years doing what they wanted me to do until I finally stopped.
Yeah, well, tattoos have obviously been a lot more normalized in the last 20 years or so. But yeah, it was definitely taboo in the 90s. And when were you born?
I was born in 1977. So
77. Okay, so yeah, I'm
I was
81.
in high school in the 90s.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
graduated in 95.
Yep. So definitely that Bible Belt mentality of
Yeah,
tattoos.
but I grew up in San Diego, so
Oh,
a
did you?
little bit of
Okay.
different culture.
So what brought you to Arkansas?
I was brought to, a couple of different things. Law school, U of A, and
You went to law school as well?
Yes, and
You passed the bar?
no, I never took the bar.
Okay.
I quit. I quit pretty much like a semester before.
Really?
I hated it. I was interning. I was interning down at the JDC and stuff. It was terrible. I hated my life.
Really?
Yeah.
What was it? I mean, I could see that, but what was it specifically that made you hate it?
DHS, the lies,
Yeah.
corruption,
Yeah.
the buying and selling of children. It felt like
Yeah.
it was really corrupt.
Soul crushing
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
DHS would get up on the stand. They would just lie.
Really?
They do things like go into these families that are already kind of underprivileged and
Right.
not in a great financial state, and they would use a couple of pot tests to take away all the children, divide them up, and adopt them out to different families because a couple failed pot tests or something.
Are
like
you
that.
serious?
Yeah. Yeah, it was soul crushing. I
Yeah.
did not enjoy it, Yeah, I mean, I enjoy the law, and I love the research and everything
Right.
like that.
You still follow like legal? Is that something
yeah.
that still interests you?
Yeah, I do all my own legal.
What's this case going on right now? This national case? You following this one?
Which one?
There's one with some chick murdered her boyfriend or something. I don't know. It's been getting a lot of national coverage. I'm not sure who it even is.
She murdered her boyfriend.
I don't know. It's a retrial. is all I
Oh
know.
yeah, the one with the Netflix special, Karen Reed.
Karen
right?
Reed. Yeah. What? Can you educate me on what the hell this is all about? Are you
Karen
following
Reed,
it all?
Yeah, basically they're accusing her of running over and killing her boyfriend in the dead of night on a snowy night.
Right.
Where they possibly were drunk and fighting, or maybe not, or maybe the people inside the house killed him and left his body in the front, and Yeah, who knows?
Right.
I don't know. I know they had a mistrial the first go around.
Right.
And so they really want her, so they came back and
You
recharged
don't think she
her.
did it, just based on your observations, or?
Uh,
Because I know I don't know anything about the case, but I've heard some, just
to
some
be
talk of-
honest, my first inclination is it seems like she probably did it, but then
Really?
yeah, but I mean, who knows? I mean, who knows? There's so much. I mean, let's wait for the next Netflix documentary series to come out.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's things that make you go, no, there's no way she did it. And then there's
Right.
things like, you know.
Yeah.
So.
What was the first big trial you remember? Was it OJ?
That I remember?
Yeah.
No. I remember Giuliani going after the mob.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What year was that? Do you remember when that
It
was?
was late 70s going into 80s. He continued his stuff into the early 80s.
Right.
I mean, I must have been like 3,
Little,
4.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've always...
So you've always had a fascination with legal
And
stuff.
politics in general, yeah.
Right.
My degree is in international relations with minor in political science. So.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
International relations.
Mm-hmm.
And what else?
Chinese history.
Chinese history? You're an interesting lady. You got a lot of different angles going on there.
I grew up in a family that believed in Renaissance.
Yeah.
Very much.
Well, that's really cool.
Riding horses, playing
Right.
piano, art, singing
Yeah.
lessons. So, I mean,
Well
everything in the
rounded.
world you can think of.
Yeah.
You know.
So what's fascinating you most right now?
The amount of psychological warfare and how much people have been affected by it
Yes.
in the world over the past couple of years.
Good topic.
You know.
Yeah.
Obviously shown through the lens of politics, as you can see it most clearly. But
Yeah, sure.
in general, watching the cultural shifts and everything. I mean,
Yeah.
you look through history, and the rise and fall of civilizations in general is fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. When you say psychological warfare, what do you mean by that specifically?
The use of media
Mm-hmm.
to influence people's core
Propagandize
beliefs.
and yeah,
all that.
The control of a narrative.
Mhm.
Information is key, right? It's
Yep.
to control the narrative is to have the power.
Yep.
And that's what's been fascinating to me. I didn't care about politics at all until it started affecting me, and it affected me first in my entertainment. I started noticing,
Oh, really?
Star Wars is a great example. The sequels.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's this concerted effort to tear down the patriarchy, right? So any male heroes have to be torn down,
Mm-hmm.
and then have a female rise in their place. But
Mm-hmm.
in order to be a strong female in Hollywood, it seems like they have to be and act like a man, right? It's like my observation. Like they've got to be a girl boss and be able to kick people's asses and all that stuff, and the men are just kind of bitches. And I was like, what is this? This is a lot. It's certainly not how I grew up, And I started understanding what woke was and kind of got into the rabbit hole there. But and there's definitely been a concerted effort to shake up like the patriarchy or that whole established thing. Which, have you noticed that? I mean,
Yeah, but all of these little things are just byproducts and tools for the ultimate goal, and that's to enact, a form of Marxism, more
Sure.
socialistic control, more government control over the people.
Right.
So all these little useful tools that they use, whether
Right.
it's, woke or, feminism or whatever tool they're using, it's just another tool to the greater goal.
Right.
I mean, if you look at, in China, Mao's revolution and how he used young people through the universities.
Right.
And,
Yes.
The ageism and the classism that he used to culturally change the whole country. What's interesting, though, is these little tools that they use, like they use, the younger kids
Sure.
to influence
Sure.
everything or to
indoctrinate them
move,
as young as they are. Yeah.
What Mao did at the end with his Red Guard, because they were just a bunch of kids.
Now, educate me on what year was this taking place with
So-
Mao and that revolution?
This was in the 30s and the 40s.
Okay.
So he went the first person to die in that whole revolution was a middle school teacher. It was a bunch of middle school girls that killed their middle school teacher.
No kidding.
Yes. So at the end of Mao using all these young people to attack their own professors and attack, their parents and everything else, he threw them all in the garbage.
Right.
Yeah.
They were useful. I think you
Right.
used that term. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like Antifa with,
Right. Mhm.
Hitler and stuff. And so it's interesting to me watching, what's going on in the country now and all these young people, and they have all these great ideas, which are great. And
Yeah.
when I was young, I did the HIV marches and I did the gay rights
Sure.
parades, and I did all that kind of stuff and,
Right.
and everything. But if you study history, you understand that you are just a useful tool for them for meanwhile.
Right.
So I encourage everybody to really learn from their history and look at the overall picture, because you think you're doing something grand now, but maybe it's not in your best interest.
Sure.
Who knows? I know you're being ideological and everything, and that's great, but
Well, ideology is scary in that it becomes your identity.
Right.
And so then, if you attack that thing, it's a personal attack on you.
right.
So you're obviously very educated about it. Can you define, like, how would you define Marxism?
Well, I mean, Marxism in its strictest terms would be, ideology according to Karl Marx,
Right.
which, is a combination of communism and socialism.
Mm-hmm.
But at its core, it uses identity politics to create the division.
Right. But it is an intentional dividing.
Absolutely, they
Method.
had. I mean, you can.
It's outlined.
Yeah, they have literal outlines, and
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called, but there's whole playbooks
Yeah.
on how to do it in a society, and that's what they've been doing, and I get it, because they have this greater plan, this greater world plan,
Right.
and who am I to say whether their world plan is a bad one or not? I don't know. It
Sure.
doesn't feel good.
Right. It
I know
doesn't.
that.
Yeah.
And I feel like the way that they're doing it feels accelerated and not organic. And when something's
Absolutely.
not organic,
It feels wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you there. So global world order, new world order, that kind of stuff, that's real, you believe? I mean, that's definitely a plan.
well, if
for
you
some.
go, I mean, if you read their own stuff,
Yeah.
the World Economic Forum has been talking about this for a really long time.
Yeah.
And
Out in the open.
Yeah, out in the open. I mean, of course, we can all fall into the idea of, oh, don't be a conspiracy theorist, and you're an InfoWars follower, or whatever the heck
Right.
you want to label people. But I mean, when you just have to go do the reading.
Mhm.
I mean, it's there. So even if Alex Jones never existed, that stuff still exists,
Sure,
and it's
sure.
still there.
Yeah. What is your opinion on Alex Jones?
I think he's really funny.
He's hilarious.
Yeah.
And he's been right about a lot. A lot of things that, I mean, he's doing
Yep.
the legwork. He's reading public documents that nobody else reads. I mean, he's getting
Yeah.
legitimate information.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I mean, yeah.
His delivery sometimes, I think, discredits. He is outrageous. He's an entertainer.
He's hyper.
He is. But he's often right. I think he's been almost a modern day prophet in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
The guy just waving the flag saying, hey, just take a look at this stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
And the
I've been
fact that
listening to him for about 20 years now.
have you really?
Mm-hmm.
See, you've
Yeah.
obviously been paying close attention for a long time.
I was like, I grew up and I was one of those Model UN kids,
Really?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, I've been watching this stuff for a very, very, very long time. I was China in Model UN when I was growing up,
Really? Man.
Yeah, so this is been...
You got
I've
a lot
always
of
been
layers to
scared,
your-
Scared of China for a long time.
Well, are you scared of him now?
I wouldn't say that I'm scared of them. I mean, they are what they are, and I don't blame them. China has to do what China
Absolutely.
has to do for themselves, and that's
Absolutely.
great. But I think everybody needs to be aware that there are men sitting in the South Pacific on destroyers watching that line in
Yes.
the middle of the ocean. You know what I mean? And it's it's a real thing. And they would love for us to disappear.
Sure.
Why not? I mean, but the United States is a very, very, very large country, and we have lots and lots of guns. So
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
What was the World War II quote about under every blade of grass in America there's a man with a gun, something like that?
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. You're obviously way more educated than I am. You know your stuff, so I'd like to ask your opinion on like the tariff situation right now. Obviously, Trump's been a significant part of American culture since I was a child. I mean, And there's people on the right who disagree with the tariffs. There's people who are for it. There's people on the left against and for. What is your opinion on what he's doing and how he's doing it?
Well, I would have to say, first and foremost, at heart, I'm an anarchist.
Sure.
I don't believe in government at all.
Right. Okay.
If I could have my way, I'd smash every single government in this world.
Right.
And, you know.
Okay. Just a side note. How do you envision a peaceful society with total anarchy?
I don't.
Oh, really? Survival of the fittest. Strongest survive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, like, if we have to have governments, you know, I want there to be the least amount of government that we can. So,
yeah.
But I can't have that. We can't. I mean, obviously that's not going to work. So.
Do you listen to Michael Malice?
No. But I feel like the tariffs, at this point, go for it.
Yeah.
Blow it all up.
Yeah.
I don't care about the stock market.
It's obviously broke. It's fucked.
Yeah. I mean, you know, if I had my way, I'd shut down the government, you know, tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, but I think people, I think all the outrage is faux outrage.
Agreed.
And I would love to buy more American.
Yeah.
I've tried to do that as much as possible in the past 4 years, especially with my food choices, obviously.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But yeah, I think that he's on the money, and I think everything that's happening is great. But you know, I love chaos. You know, so you know, all this is great to me.
I wouldn't say I'm an anarchist. But I do believe in a very limited government. But yeah, I love the chaos of it. It's a shakeup of the system, which needs to happen.
Absolutely.
But there is such a resistance to it.
Right.
And obviously, if you're threatened, I mean, how many people have honeypot schemes and all these things, and they're just getting millions of scams, and you're gonna fight to lose. If you're losing your power, you're gonna fight like hell. Do whatever you can.
Right.
It's almost miraculous that Trump is even still alive. I mean, and in office. I mean, they went after. That was one of the things that I started noticing. Is like, even as somebody who wasn't paying close attention to politics as of I didn't vote in the 2016 election. I was like, I'm not educated enough. It didn't affect me, right? Like I said, once it started affecting my entertainment, and my kids were getting a little older, you know, you start thinking more about that stuff. And once I started paying attention, it's like they're going after this guy hard, almost too hard. Mm-hmm. It just seemed inorganic.
Yeah.
Like it felt like a forced thing, you know. And I started paying attention, and like, this guy he's really shaking the system up in a way that intrigues me. Mm-hmm. You know, these evil elites that we all know are corrupt are trying to take him down. Then he's doing something right. I almost felt like.
Right. Yeah. He's an interesting character. I mean, I didn't pay much attention to him at all until the 2016 election.
Right.
I had never watched The Apprentice.
Sure. Neither did I.
Never really much cared about, you know, learning about the guy.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say, you know, I'm not a Trump absolutist.
No.
By a million years. I think that some things I question
deeply flawed
about
individual.
him. Yeah, I question about him.
Yeah,
but
certainly.
I mean, I grew up, you know, in the 90s, that punk, hardcore, gangster rap, all that stuff in Southern California. Well, you know, as I got older, I always thought I was pretty liberal growing up, you know, especially coming from, you know, my parents are, you know, Reaganites. You know, my dad's still a military, you know, military contractor. Yep.
Nice.
So I really thought I was liberal. And then all this, you know, 2016 happened, and I kind of paid attention because I knew I didn't want Hillary Clinton in there.
Yeah, I think most people knew that.
Yeah, I knew even before I lived here. When I was in 8th grade, when Bill Clinton won, I kind of cried.
Really?
Oh yeah, I was very upset when Bill Clinton won.
Even as identifying as a liberal back then.
Even then.
Why was that?
Because I'd already knew stuff about the Clintons.
Right.
I already knew about their drug trafficking, stories about the drug trafficking, all kinds of stuff. So I did not want the Clintons in there.
And you're young. I mean,
I was like 14. I was really
you're
young.
paying real close attention. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I really didn't like them. But so then I tuned out for most of my life or whatever, you know.
Right.
And then, you know, life takes you over. And then, 2016 happened, and I was like, this is interesting. And I kind of didn't really pay much attention. And then I started thinking about it, I don't know, about a year before Biden got in. I started paying attention again, and I started paying attention. Actually, what I was paying attention to was Chinese parliamentarian meetings.
See, that's
So once in a while, I would tune into the parliamentary meetings in China.
okay.
Right? And one day, they were talking about Hunter Biden's laptop. And I was like, what the heck? And then I started kind of tuning in and paying attention to this laptop story. And I was like, what the heck? And then I started seeing this stuff on. I finally joined. I got on X. God help me. I joined X. And then that kind of did it for me. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what's happening in our country right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a Marxist revolution.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
100%.
You know, BLM COVID happened, all this stuff happened. And I was like, whoa, I know a Marxist revolution when I see one. You know, and I started getting really worried. I started thinking, well, what are you? You know, Micaela, what? You know, everybody needs to be categorized and labeled and put in boxes these days.
Yep.
What are you? And I'm like, well, you know, so I'm part Native American, so I'm not really into government, and
Right.
I'm real, you know, I don't want to be part of anything that's going to put more bureaucracy in my
Right.
life.
God.
I don't
no.
need your free money,
Right.
you know, and I
No.
don't need your welfare, and I don't feel like a victim.
Well, that's something I wanted to talk about at some point. Victim mentality and how dangerous that is,
very
and how
dangerous.
common it's become.
All over the place.
It's one of the most dangerous
over the
ideals
place.
all over the place.
And there's like a
And
whole
kids are learning
generation
this
of it.
coming up. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
my son is 24, and it's like kids around 24 to early 30. That generation right there,
Yeah.
I see it a lot. But you know, so then I was like, okay, well, if we have a scale, right? So you have Republican and you have Democrat, right?
Right.
And then you have like socialist and communist and fascist and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, I want less. Oh my God, the most punk thing I can be is Republican if I was to vote on Republican or Democrat ticket. Now, I never thought growing up it would be like that. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And I never
Republicans
thought
were never cool.
Yeah, and I never thought going to see the Circle Jerks over at JJ's Live a couple months ago, he would have one dread left talking about taking his booster vax. You know?
Oh my
what?
gosh, really?
Yes, dude. It was.
Well, it is interesting to me how you had bands like Rage Against the Machine who
Yeah,
are
oh,
like,
yeah.
fuck the man.
Punk is dead, dude.
And now they are literally enforcing the
Oh yeah,
man.
yeah. Punk is dead.
It
Yeah.
switched, yeah.
Yeah, so it made no sense to me, and I was just like, you know, the least amount of government is what I want.
Yeah,
So,
agreed.
you know, I don't care about, you know, monitoring people's speech so everybody's nice. You can say whatever you want to me, and I'm not going to feel outraged by it. I don't care. You can call me anything in the world.
Because it's not a person. Well, even if it is a personal attack, you're not you're choosing not
Even
to
if
take
it is
personally.
personal. Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
But it is
to
a
me.
choice whether you're outraged or not.
So when
I
you
mean-
start seeing them talk about, you know, monitoring our language and everything like
Right.
this over here,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, whoa, holy
Well,
I'm worse than a Reaganite. I'm, you know, more conservative than my parents are now. What's going on here?
right. Well, it
I never
seems
thought
like
this
there's been
would
a lot of
happen.
backfires. Like I didn't even know who Alex Jones was until he got banned. And then I'm like, why are they banning this guy? So then I start looking into Alex Jones, right?
Yeah.
And then during COVID, it's like anybody who spoke what we now know is the truth was being censored, or they would get a strike, or they'd get labels on them, or they'd get kicked off entirely. And that was raising some eyeballs. Like, why are these people getting banned? Because the facts do not line up with the narrative.
Right.
And that was obvious if you were paying attention. And it's like, what are these people having to say? And the only person powerful enough at the time to withstand that barrage was Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
And when it affected him, when CNN lied about him and painted his face green,
Yeah, that
and
was hilarious.
he still won't stop talking about it. And I'm glad, because you know he was another key figure in all of this, in breaking the overall culture grip that this Marxism had
Yeah,
on
there
us.
were quite a few good ones. I mean,
Sure, name some other.
Candace
Candace Owens.
Owens, you know,
She's a firecracker.
Schellenberger,
Yeah.
James O'Keefe,
Have you heard he's got a new drop coming out next week? And
I heard he did that. He did that little cryptic video the other day.
Is he performative? A little bit.
I have been blown away by what he's been able to show.
Agreed.
My question is, like, especially his documentary when he went down into Mexico and came up and did the whole trip. That was insane.
Yeah.
I don't think that he's given the credit. Like, he should have gotten a Pulitzer a million years ago, honestly.
My goodness, agreed.
He is, I mean, I think he's lucky to still be alive.
Well, he's obviously fearful right now because apparently he told Alex Jones the info in fear of his life.
Yeah, this should be interesting. It's been a lot of fun. I mean,
it is entertaining.
It's been like a soap opera for years and years. It's like my husband told me, he was like, ever since the last election, you haven't stopped. And I'm like, he goes, are you ever going to stop watching the news? I'm like, yeah, I think, no, probably not. I think I think I'm a lifer on this one now. Sorry.
I want to continue this conversation right where it is, but you and Brandon Stevens, how the hell did that happen?
In between marriages. I mean, I got divorced and went on Dixon. What can I say?
I don't ever, that's a pairing. You wouldn't just,
I know,
he's a wild man.
Used to be.
I love him to death. Well, I mean, he's on a different frequency,
Yeah, he's something.
I knew him 20 years ago. We worked together at Town and Country Pools for summer. And,
did you?
Oh, yeah.
He's changed a lot since he was a kid.
I'm sure we all have. I mean, but man, he had some handsome golden locks back in the day.
Yeah, no more.
No, not anymore. I see him every once in a while at 16 General.
Do you?
Yeah, yeah. Love Brandon, great guy, but just
hilarious.
So funny that I never in a million years.
Never would have either. I got
How long
drunk.
Have you been married?
Well, we've been married since 2010.
Okay, nice.
No, 2011, but we've been together since 2009.
Okay, right on.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, going back to what we were talking about, like currently James O'Keefe got a big drop coming. He has done a lot for exposing the ethics of it. Get to me, but then again, I also think if you're in a war, you have to use tactics.
I mean, when they use the media to straight up lie for so many years, I'm not going to worry about outing them on a video.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I know. It bothers me, like just the deception of it, but at the same time, it does. Do the ends justify the means?
Yeah,
and I think they do.
Yeah,
because some of these bombshells that have come out because of OMG media now have changed public opinion. Have changed. I mean, it's been wild.
Yeah. I mean, if people are really bothered by their tactics of how they do it, then they can go lobby to change the laws in their state, can't they?
Right, because he's not breaking the law technically in the states that he's doing this.
No, he's following the law.
He's following the law.
Yep.
And but also, like, why would you pour your deepest, darkest secrets to a stranger? Well, it's usually because it's somebody they want to fuck.
Yeah,
right? They'll send a hot chick in,
usually.
Or a gay guy if it's another gay guy, and then they'll liquor him up. It's a honey drop. It's a honey drop, 100%.
Yep, but it is what it is, and like I said, if people don't like it, they're welcome to go change the laws in their state and lobby for that.
So I really want to get your take on the Gaza-Israel thing and where you line up there. Because there's a lot of, I mean, that's a hornet's nest if I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
And you probably know the whole history of the damn thing.
Yes.
Going back to the Ottoman Empire and all that stuff. I've done a lot of research, but probably not as much as you have. So
I mean, I honestly do not believe America has any place in any other country at this point. I do not believe in helping Ukraine. I do not believe in helping Israel. I do not believe that we should be anywhere in the world but our own country right now.
I agree with you 100%.
And I've got Jewish relatives.
Sure.
And there's been losses all over the place for lots of people, and I don't really, I'm in the spot where it's like I have strong feelings about all of it. You know what I mean? Like seeing children dying, all the media that they put out there is devastating.
Yes.
Absolutely. But I have no place I have nothing to say about it because I don't have a solution to it.
Right.
Was my opinion going to make Israel stop, doing what they're doing? Would my opinion make Hamas stop what they're doing? No. I I feel like America should stay in America, and other countries should deal with their own problems.
I agree very much. The problem with that conflict, though, is that it is ideological in nature. It is a religious conflict, and it's oil and water. One wants the other one dead, and one of them thinks that they are God's chosen children and they should inherit the earth. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's the same playbook. Who knows how many times the Matrix has gone through that revolution.
yeah, right, sure.
I mean, it's almost like we're set up for some ultimate standoff, Muslims versus Christians versus Jews versus blah blah blah. Like,
right.
I
But the fear porn right now, all right, they want everybody kept in fear, obviously.
Yeah.
So you're closer to your tribe, right? And so your tribes are obviously so separated. You have to either believe wholeheartedly in the right or the left, which, I mean, it's really a uniparty behind the curtain. These people are all in bed and fucking the same people and getting money from the same lobbyists. The industrial war complex has kind of shifted from the right to the left, and just depending. I mean, it all goes back to money and lobbyists, and it's all bullshit.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you have
That's why you can't sit there and dividing the American people over a foreign conflict is, one of the greatest achievements of the deep state.
Agreed.
So we can all have our opinions, but our opinions aren't going to do anything to help any of those children over there or any of those women. I will say, if you're wondering what the intentions are of, people over there, go watch they say it.
Yeah.
They say it in their own videos what their intentions are for the Western world. So there's that, but I don't know. I mean, I went to Israel when I was 14, and when I was there for 2 weeks, all I heard was bombs going off the whole darn time.
Are you serious? So it's a way of life over there.
Yeah.
It's just...
Yeah, it's constant. Well, right now, I think a whole bunch of Israel's on, or maybe it's in I don't know exactly where, but somebody set the whole place on fire for the past couple
Really?
days. Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you about this. I got my theory. I'll just ask you yours. One of the things Trump ran on was transparency, and one of those things was the Epstein list. Obviously, a dud. We didn't get any new information. Why do you think that is?
Well, I don't know, man. Probably because they're all in on it. Who knows?
All in on it.
I mean, we have to understand first off that Epstein wasn't the big bad.
No.
The big bad's still alive.
He worked for somebody else.
Yeah, the big bad's still alive.
Yes.
She is very much either she's like the big bad's best friend, or she's the big. I don't know what part, but she's,
You talking about Ghislaine?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was the kingpin the whole time.
Well, but her father
Oh yeah. He used to work for Mossad.
was Mossad.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen all the Ian Carroll videos, all that stuff. Yeah.
I mean, Ian Carroll is... did you familiar with the Douglas Murray, Dave Smith debate?
I watched it.
Douglas Murray came off as a fucking idiot. Like, to try and say, and this is my opinion, to try and say you don't have a right to talk about it unless you're an expert. After literally the experts have been lying to us for the last 5 years, podcasters saved us, in my opinion. Because people had, who do I trust? I don't know. I'd rather listen to a guy in t-shirt and jeans who's just trying to find out the truth. He may not be an expert, but he's doing the research. He looks like me, he talks like me. He's much more relatable than somebody in a suit, right, reading off a teleprompter.
Yeah.
Like, fuck that. We're beyond that generation, right, of like the Fox News or CNN. I feel like people are looking for something they can relate to. The podcasters, right or wrong, are at least trying to report the news. I mean, even Rogan got pulled into politics. Guys like Tim Pool, I mean, who are trying to get, Tim Pool. Yeah, I mean, he is what he is, but...
No, I have no problem with Tim Pool. I think he's funny. I enjoyed what he wore to the White House the other day. I think he went to the White House.
Yeah, I saw him. But it's to me, it's pretty obvious if you don't release it that you are protecting someone. And like you said, they're all in on it. I think you're right. I think Supreme Justice Roberts was there. It would blow people's minds to know, like, everybody was doing it. But I also, like you said, I mean, Ghislaine's father, Robert Maxwell, the media mogul, was Mossad.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're protecting Israel.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a joint operation. I think it was Israel and the CIA
Mm-hmm.
using Epstein to gain leverage over key, powerful individuals.
Mm-hmm.
What else could it possibly be?
It's pretty status quo. I mean, it's the whole DC game has been since day one DC was made. That's what they do. Yep.
But I would think the bringer of chaos, Donald Trump, would want that
maybe
Has he
this is
been
what I'm hoping is that
Please share.
they are going to blow the whole system up, but in order to do that they have to mitigate for what happens when they do it. So maybe maybe they're in the middle of preparations for mitigations.
Let's
I don't
get
know.
a little bit of infrastructure readiness before, after.
Yeah, that would be nice. But, I'm not going to hold any hope about that. I mean, we straight up know that, our own government killed JFK. And do you see anything happening from that? Of course not.
Right.
We've
all known this all
I mean,
along.
what's going to happen? They're going to release Epstein? Like, okay, we already know Bill Clinton is a total pedophile. Great. But, like, who else? Like, how many people is this going to really take down?
How many people in Hollywood?
Yeah.
I feel like the Hollywood grip on America, and I never did understand why there really was one. I mean, worshiping celebrity to me has always been idiotic, and they're just people, right?
Well, they used to be court jesters, remember?
Yes. If you want to look at your long-term history.
Yeah, we've elevated them to a status.
To gods.
Yep.
It's like Olympus out in Hollywood now. These are the gods, the beautiful people.
Mm-hmm.
They're assholes just like the rest of us, right? But they had this authority somehow, and they could tell us how to live.
Which is hilarious, because they're literally paid to talk lines that they are given.
But 100%. But don't you feel like their sway is broken? I didn't hear a fucking peep out of Hollywood this election.
Yeah.
It's like...
I heard quite a bit out of them, but it didn't matter.
No, it didn't matter. They've lost their...
No, they've lost their hold, and they've lost their credibility. And, it shows in the box office,
I mean,
I think it's hilarious.
But then here's the one thing I can't figure out. Disney continues to double, triple, quadruple, quintuple down on this woke shit. They lose money on every venture. Who is subsidizing that? Like, that's got to be paid. Like, somebody's got to be covering up the difference. Is the government subsidizing that? How?
Well, who owns Disney?
Who does own Disney?
That's a good question. If it's, look into who owns Disney, and then that'll be your answer.
But why,
if it goes back to BlackRock, I mean, of course they would double down, because that's the kids station. So yeah, they're going to continue to go after the kids as much as they can.
Because, oh my God,
that's why they're doubling down on all the crazy stuff in California.
They have to complete the mission regardless. It's more important than the money at this point.
It's the last stand.
Yeah.
For at least the next 40 to 50 years. I mean, the commie revolutions come around every so often.
Right.
So.
But you feel like, I mean, I don't know if you're a Yellowstone fan or familiar with the show,
Nope.
but Taylor Sheridan's entertainment is getting a ton of eyeballs. I mean, he tried to sell a Western to every network, and everybody said Westerns are dead. And then, was it HBO? Who was it? I can't remember what network. Maybe it was CBS. Said, yeah, we'll do your show. And it's a tough... men are masculine, women are strong, but in a feminine way. It's a very common sense kind of tough guy show, and it resonated. And it was a zeitgeist kind of TV show that I hadn't seen since Game of Thrones. And usually when something like that happens, I want to see what it's about.
I've watched a couple of episodes. I loosely know what it's about, but the last I know about it is at the end of the season they pussied out and gave back the land or something, or like the whole meaning of the show.
No, I think they had a good solution to it.
Did they? I don't know. That's
no,
just
I thought it was a well
played.
played maneuver. I thought it was a tasty ending, personally. They didn't fucking crash the ship like Game of Thrones did. But then also, to be fair, Game of Thrones was put in a terrible situation. George Martin fucked them over bad. But then Taylor Sheridan, because of the success of Yellowstone, he gets Landman, he gets Tulsa King, he gets all these other shows. Right. He's changing culture now that is promoting masculinity and talking shit, and we've become one of the things that bothers me the most is like how sensitive we've become, and this ties back into the victim culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't. I mean, me and my boys call each other the most horrible shit ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's normal. You just don't even think about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we just say these things, and it's not personal.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it toughens you up,
Yeah.
right? And we are so sensitive now to where if you get called even a loser, it's like, oh my God, I've been called a name, and I think that's part of this reaction against Trump is because he calls it like you see it. He tells the truth,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people can't face the truth about themselves.
Yeah. 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 Well, I'm Gen X, so I say things like gay, I say retarded.
Yes,
I say all
but that
kinds
doesn't
of
mean
stuff.
you're homophobic.
I trigger people all day long.
Right.
People label me as being all kinds of things that I'm not, just
Right.
because they, interpret my way of talking or my roughness and in whatever way that triggers them.
Right.
And that's fine. I've gone through quite a few, employees or artists or whatever, that, I'm too MAGA for them or something, whatever
Yeah.
that means,
Yeah.
this term MAGA,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
But, and that's fine, and
There is a Trump cult. There is a section of Trump followers who do worship everything he does, and that is
Yeah.
just as bad as the woke left, who is, the ideology again.
there are a lot of things about, Trump that, I take issue with.
Oh,
but there's a
certainly.
lot of things about, the man I love I take issue with too.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Not
Yeah.
everybody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect, and we're always going to have conflicts.
I just don't want communism or socialism in my
No.
country. That's what it comes down to.
Right.
And if that means that like honestly, if like a Thomas Massey ran against Donald Trump, I'd vote for Thomas Massey. You know what I
Dude,
mean?
if Thomas Massey wanted, oh my God, I love that man so much.
Yeah,
He is the only person in Congress that I truly have 100% faith in.
Yeah.
And he is not a Trump sycophant.
No,
He goes
not
up
at all.
against Trump all the time. Trump hates him.
I know.
Trump wants to get him voted out,
Yeah.
and I strongly disagree. I absolutely, my dream was to have Thomas Massey as VP.
Great. It'd be
I
great,
wanted that.
right?
Oh,
yeah, it'd
be
be great.
fantastic.
This isn't about Trump being this and that and great and this is about like, you can even boil it down to just simple finances. So
Sure.
I've been doing my own taxes since I was 16 years old.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
So I'm able to take a unique look and superimpose presidents over the years of my tax returns to see my money,
Yeah.
And beyond a doubt, every time a Republican is in office, I make more money.
Yes. Right.
So there's that, and then I've never owed taxes in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Never in my life have I ever owed taxes until the year Joe Biden got into presidency.
Really?
And yes, and
In
when
the
they
first
passed
time
the
ever?
infrastructure, yes, HR1, when they passed HR1, suddenly for the first time in my life, I owe taxes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it made that much of an impact.
And as a small business owner, I mean, that makes
Mm-hmm.
a difference. I don't know how many employees you have. Is it?
So right now, I think I have 8. So it can range anywhere depending on how many apprentices I have at a time, 7
Yeah.
to 12 around there.
Yeah.
But and they're all independent contractors and stuff. But
Sure.
I can see very clearly, economically where I profit the most. And, it's just like, me getting out of California.
Uh-huh.
That was a huge major financial decision.
Now, tell me again what year you moved from.
I moved here I moved here in 2004.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
2004. When did you start your business?
So the one here, because I owned a shop in Oklahoma.
Okay.
Before this one was 2018.
Okay. Name of it again? I'm sorry.
Stigma Inc.
It is Stigma. Okay. Stigma Inc. 2018.
Mm-hmm.
You open this place. Then COVID hits.
Mm-hmm.
How did you survive?
Well, I mean, Hutchinson closed us down for a month. That was it. That's
Really?
all. Yeah, that's it. So
Okay.
it was nothing.
So we weren't that bad in Arkansas. As far
No,
as,
not like California or anywhere else.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that lost their shops out there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But that was the biggest. So you always have to get like, is there a motive? Is there a root cause? Right? If if you ask the question, was COVID released intentionally, or are they such good opportunists that they just magically found ways to do all these things immediately? And there were so many benefits to the elite that to me it only could have been a planned release. I fully believe it was intentional.
I believe it's intentional.
I think it was to get Trump out. I think it was mostly, though, the transfer of wealth. It was the biggest transfer of wealth from the middle class to the elite in the history of all of it. Small business owners, the backbone of America, were intentionally put out of business. They were not allowed to open shop. Right? Freedom would be to say, hey, you're warned, this is a virus that's out there, it could be deadly. If you open up your shop, that's on you. And to the customer, freedom would be, hey, if you feel safe enough to go there, that's your right. That's what should have happened. If a business owner felt safe enough to open their doors and the customers wanted to go there, then they should have had the freedom to do so. But they didn't. Now, the big elite companies were able to keep their doors open somehow, right?
Yeah.
Because they had larger for bullshit reasons we know now.
And strip clubs everywhere, by the way, too.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But it was... I feel like we've moved on from COVID, and I want to bring things back to that, what happened there. That wasn't okay. I mean, people lost their jobs over an experimental... wasn't even a vaccine. They changed the definition of vaccine.
Well, if they could do it again, they would try to do it again. I mean,
there was a test
looking
run.
Back on it, I mean,
everybody went along with it.
Who was one of the major players during the HIV/AIDS epidemic? Who was one of the biggest public figures?
Dr. Fauci.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, this is just.
You don't just get a pardon on the way out for not committing crimes.
Yeah.
Do you think
he did though?
Do you think we'll see justice with him?
No.
Really?
Yeah. No. I think that they'll try to act like it. But when it comes down to it, I think the current administration will weigh the possibility of how the public in general might react to getting justice like that in terms of how it might impact their look for the next election.
Right.
If they think that it will help them...
Sad to think in those terms.
Right.
Rather than just doing a thing because it's the right thing to do, looking at your...
But then I can also understand why they would think that way too, because God forbid AOC and Bernie get in. Or maybe they tee up Gretchen Whitmer.
That's fair.
I mean, Trump has been very insistent on keeping her in the public eye and pointing her out a lot lately.
Yeah.
Well, who are they going to put up? Or are we going to have like the triumvirate, like the duo from hell? Listen, Whitmer and Newsom running in the primary against AOC and Bernie.
Wow.
Can you imagine? So I can understand why they would think in those terms because
you
larger
have
picture.
Because you have to win.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a balance. It's a balance, and
But we do deserve justice. We still deserve justice over HIV and AIDS.
Yeah.
I had several friends that died over that, and I remember back then them not getting the therapeutic that they are, that was shown to work and has been keeping people alive. They were refused that very therapeutic by Fauci back in the day.
Stop it. Is that really what happened?
Yes. Yeah, they demonized like they did with ivermectin.
Yes.
They did it back then with the certain, I forget what it was called.
Okay, so there was basically a treatment that got demonized just like ivermectin did back in the AIDS.
Yes, and one of my friends now has a brother who has HIV and has been alive for 20 plus years on this therapeutic.
No shit.
Yes.
That was out all along.
Yeah. Yeah. So, when I saw COVID pop up, I was like, Fauci, wait.
So you remembered him.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't have to have the news connect the dots. You knew.
Yeah, I mean, I was one of those kids making the little AIDS square for the quilt of America, Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I watched it very intently back then.
Crazy.
So,
if you look at the world stage, you got your degree, it was international what?
Relations.
You obviously have a good understanding of that. You got Russia, Ukraine, you got China, Taiwan, you got Israel, you got Palestine, and you got Iran right there. It's a tinderbox. something sparks up. We're in World War III. Do you think we can avoid it, or do you think this is one of those times in the history of the world where things need to get sorted out and reset?
Well, apparently Ukraine agreed to the mineral rights deal.
Okay, so what does that ultimately mean, though?
That
As far as
means that
Russia's,
there will be American bodies in Ukraine.
right, which I'm
Which
not totally pleased
means-
with that.
He believes it's an insurance policy against Putin invading
Invading the country,
and
yeah.
he thinks, but Putin wants the Donbass and Crimea,
Right.
and he believes that they're ethnically Russian and
Mhm.
believes that they want to be with him, and
Yeah.
Ukraine did go in and they had the Minsk agreements and
Mhm.
they didn't follow them, and they did go in there and they killed, I think the reports were something like 8 to 11,000
Yeah.
ethnic Russians.
Yeah.
They did vote to separate, and Ukraine ignored that vote.
Yes.
So,
But a lot of
you
people
know.
don't know this is not part of the narrative.
Right, right.
The-
I believe that if those people want to be part of Russia, then Ukraine should respect that.
Right.
And but then again, it's not my country.
Should
You
we,
know?
should we, the United States, be mediating all these deals?
No, I don't think we should have anything to do with it unless they are asking us to mediate these deals.
Right.
I don't know if we have been formally asked. It seems like we're expected to be,
Right.
Who knows,
Well,
man?
when Trump said, I can have this conflict solved on day one, I think a lot of people assumed, oh, that's proof that he's in bed with Vladimir Putin. They already have a deal worked out, right? Well, I don't think it's going so well with Russia, the talks.
You don't
but
think so?
It doesn't seem to be. It doesn't seem like there's been a lot of progress. But also, like, I have enough self-awareness to realize I'm not in these meetings, right? I'm not there. I'm privy to what I'm supposed to be privy to.
Right.
And they could be reporting something totally false. Like,
Right.
the people there controlling the information tell us what we want to hear. They could be misleading us. They could be, the news that we put out is being watched in China and all these other countries.
Yeah, it's
like,
a lot of fun watching Russian media and other different countries' media.
yeah, how are you consuming that? Like, are you getting that on Rumble, or like, how are you watching Russian media?
A lot of Telegram.
Telegram, really?
Yeah,
So
Chinese media too.
Okay, and so do you, please don't tell me you speak
local.
both Russian and Chinese.
No.
So is it translated and you
Ye-
can? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's also special apps you can use to translate the videos. And
So
stuff.
what are their media saying?
Well, contrary to what people believe, like Russians love Putin.
Really?
Oh yeah, Russians love Putin.
I have heard this. I haven't done a dive on it, but
Yeah.
so they really do.
They love Putin.
Okay. So you don't think he's rigging elections, or
No, not at all.
really? You think?
Yeah,
he's,
no, I think that what was that guy's the opposite guy that died in prison,
you know better than I would.
Dostoevsky?
I know who you're talking about, but I couldn't name him.
Alexander Dostoevsky,
Well, do
something
you
like
remember
that.
when Tucker went over there
Uh-huh.
and everybody flipped out? It's like, why
Yeah.
on earth would you not want to at least hear the other point of view?
Because they're silly. That's why.
They're not serious people. But anyway,
No.
go ahead.
No, I believe that he was all too happy to put his opposition in jail. I've read their constitution. They do have freedom of speech in their constitution, contrary to what people believe. Russians do have
Really?
technical rights, yes. But it also says in their constitution, it talks about anti-state players that bring up disturbance and unrest, and their claims are that the opposition player was working with the CIA to start unrest in his country. And here's the thing, that's what our CIA does all over the world.
That is absolutely what
So, let me ask. I ask this question: like, is it bad to jail these opposition players and be labeled a fascist, or are you just getting rid of an inorganic problem that's being created by foreign players?
That's a very
You know?
interesting question you pose.
Yeah.
That's
It's
what that
there's
needs
such
to
a
be part
fine
of the
line.
conversation. Yes,
You
you're
know?
right. If you have some, like, as you put it perfectly, inorganic,
Yeah.
orchestrated thing to try and take that's a threat.
Yeah, look at Brazil. Look at, Venezuela.
I'm not as educated on that. Tell us about Brazil and what's going on there.
Well, Brazil had, their president Bolsonaro was, in years ago, and then,
Right.
they went up for election.
And he
And
lost.
he lost to a liberal socialist.
But was there some question about the legitimacy of that?
Yeah,
right?
I mean, there were protests for months
Yeah.
afterwards, hundreds of thousands
Yeah.
of people on the street. They did not believe the election.
Yeah.
And, I mean, take a look at, Canada just recently. People have a lot of questions, and they're questioning the Canadian,
Yeah.
election.
Yeah.
And,
Well, it seems like they were tired of the nonsense with Trudeau, but then they got somebody who was just equally as.
and now we have credible threats of Alberta maybe actually separating from the rest of Canada, like open.
So that
openly
really is
PMs
a
talking
thing.
about
I've
it.
heard some
Yes.
whispers. That's a.
Yeah, PMs are openly talking about it.
Really?
So, yeah, so what they've done in the U.S., they have built years and years and years of work up to do what they did with the elections, and then they used it as a blueprint in other countries. I mean,
Right.
having like Dominion systems doing the Venezuelan elections and the Maduro winning. Maduro, he didn't get elected in. Like, come on. I mean,
Well, why do you think that? I'm not educated on that.
because
the
of people,
Maduro
because
deal.
of the people's reaction.
Because
That's,
of the okay.
right.
So you're watching the culture and how they react to it. Okay.
Yeah, just
Yeah, common sense kind of thinking.
5 trillion phones in this world, taking 5 trillion videos at any
Yeah,
second
yeah,
of the day,
sure.
So, I mean, so when I look at Putin and everybody's claims about his, the way he is and his fascism and everything and else and, and what he does and blah, blah, and I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe he's just nipping stuff in the bud because we literally have been messing with pretty much every government in this world for a very long time.
Right.
This country has. And so, what are we mad we can't do it in Russia?
Yeah. Right.
But no, the Russian people love Putin.
Well, you brought up the inorganic attack to the stability of the state. I would argue that if you're going to use that logic, then I would say MAGA is very organic.
Yeah.
And it really stemmed from a grassroots populism kind of a movement. And I would say the woke left is an indoctrinated ideology sent to infect. So by that logic, the woke left would be a threat to the stability of the United States.
Right, but we also do need to recognize that there was a point in time when that threat could have gone into the right at any point. The fact that they the Democrat Party was the one that was infiltrated and
100%.
moved from the center
Yeah.
is just by luck of the time period that this happened in,
Yes,
like
agreed.
whoever. And I would say probably around the 60s.
Yeah.
After World War II, when,
Yeah.
And it's interesting, though, if you go back and you try to start tracing, like, where this all started coming through, like, think about the JFK assassination and LBJ came from that, and, like, who was placed in the government all through these years preceding after World War II, knowing that we brought over all these, like, Nazis and we put them all through our government,
Yes,
right?
we did. Yes, we did.
And then wondering, like, who's at the base, like, who's at the top of the WEF and Soros and all these players.
Mm-hmm.
You start realizing that there's an old strain that is very Nazi-like, and somehow it's connecting all of the events that are happening right now.
Yeah.
And they're also using the immigration, and they're using Islam to get their overall, like, whatever their mission is, their end goal.
Yeah.
Whether it's NWO or somehow, but of course breaking down the United States to be enveloped in their greater, system.
100%.
But yeah, it's interesting. If you stand over it and you just look at all the little strains and tendrils, you realize, like, this has been going on, and this has been in the works for a very long time. Ever since World War II, the Nazis have never gone away, like the true Nazis.
Sure.
And not the people that people call Nazis or Antifa calls Nazis
Right.
or whatever.
Which
But
is basically just white men.
but the
Yeah.
true deep dark power structure
Yeah.
that was behind Hitler and that
Right.
whole thought process.
Have you gone down any of the rabbit hole that Hitler escaped Argentina and survived?
I totally believe it. I mean, they
Do
found
you
Mendel.
really?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Oh my!
Absolutely.
Let's go.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, they can't. It came
'Cause-
out years ago that Mengele was down there. You know?
Yeah. So you think Hitler survived?
Yeah.
So you think the body was a dupe?
Mhm.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
What? Wow.
I mean, would
I mean-
you let yourself get killed if you were Hitler?
I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I've seen Rogan's podcasts on this. I've done some research on it. I mean, it is plausible.
I haven't actually
'Cause
really done that much research
There is
on
a
it.
ton of German, I mean, Nazi-derived people in Argentina. They still are there, and they fled there. But like, was Hitler among them? I don't know. It's fascinating. What about the moon landing? You think we landed? Let's go.
Oh my gosh, I
We're
don't
full
know.
of Alex Jones now.
I don't know. No,
I think we did, but I think we were so
I don't know.
consumed with optics that we wanted cool footage, and so we filmed some stuff
You
on
think so?
sets, and because we did that, it obfuscates
Right.
the reality of it. I do think we went, because we went 7 times, allegedly. I mean, I
Right.
wasn't there. I can't. Yeah, that's the thing. I always get so frustrated with people who are like so like this is like, I will fight you over this belief. I'm like, you weren't there.
Yeah.
You could. There's a
Yeah.
possibility you could be wrong. No, I am not. It's like, okay.
Well, I'm one of those people that like pretty much anything you throw at me, I'll give you a chance.
Sure.
Like you tell me it's a flat Earth, maybe.
Dude,
you know, I
I've
don't know. Is
spent-
there an ice wall?
I can't
Sure.
believe
Who
just
knows? You
brought
never
up
know.
That I have spent the last 2 weeks on the flat Earth thing because I'm like, why is it still around?
Yeah.
If it was such a bad idea, it would have been shut down years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been diving into this stuff, and man, there's some compelling shit.
I know it's fun.
It's fun. It's fun.
I mean, it's like I've never met a conspiracy theory I didn't like. You know what I
Agreed.
mean?
Agreed.
And I don't know if any of it's true or if it's not true.
But you're open to
It's-
to learning. You're
I wanna
obviously a
know
scholar of
everything.
life.
Yes.
But you're not interested in just buying a narrative. You're interested in finding the truth, right?
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think there's two. And I think it happens in school. I think public school teaches you to follow the leader, be a sheep, be a follower, don't ask questions.
Yeah.
It's very
Well,
dangerous.
now the school system is like that. I
Yes.
mean, when I was growing up, I mean, I was in Gate, and I had an amazing school experience.
What is GATE?
Gifted and talented?
Oh, okay. We call it GT. Yeah, same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had an amazing education.
Okay. Cool.
And I mean, I was very, very lucky.
This is in California.
But then I saw my sister is 12 years younger than me, and I saw a huge change in the educational system between her and me.
Really? Just that 12-year span?
Yes, huge difference.
Really? How so?
I mean, they started teaching math differently. Like, I can't help my children do math right now. Now, I was in calculus 2 by the time I graduated from high school, but I cannot help my kids do their math problems now because they teach them a completely different way of doing it
Really?
and make them write. Yes, and it takes like 3 times as long. It's insane. I don't understand
We're
what happened.
regressing in the way
Yes.
we're teaching kids.
Yeah, so
Wow.
they I mean, but this is part of the Marxist revolution. You have to, they have been purposely making our kids, you know, it's horrible. Like
That
it
is a
doesn't-
component of it. We're dumbing them down intentionally.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, dumbing them down. Absolutely. I mean, from even
That's
people
brilliant.
people might snicker, but I mean, fluoriding the water.
Yeah.
You know, little things like that. You know.
But it's so brilliant.
Yeah.
These people are not
They've
dumb.
been working on it for a very long time.
Yeah.
Like I said, like
But
I would say
who
LBJ.
are these people?
That's what I
That's
would
the
love
question,
to know.
right?
Yeah, and
the ones
I'm-
on the Epstein list, probably.
And, yeah. Well, it's these like this
know who they are.
I mean, Hitler was one of their tools, I think, but I mean, whoever
yeah.
the big bad is, it gets so existential. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Oh,
so even esoteric
absolutely.
to try to pin it down or think about it. You know?
Well, I've
It's
gotten
just
to
this
the point where, like,
force.
when the California fires were raging, the first thing I thought was Diddy evidence is all gone, right? Like, and maybe not, but like, what is he up to? Why aren't we? What's going on there? How many Hollywood? And that's why I think Hollywood shut up during the 2020 election or 2024 election is because Diddy was in the spotlight, and a lot of them were like, I just need to keep my mouth shut right now. Because I don't know.
Maybe.
Imagine this. You're in Hollywood, right? You're young. Maybe you had a couple movies. You want to go hang out with Diddy. He gives you something, puts it in your drink, right? You don't know what you do. You just wake up the next morning like, man, I blacked out. Now you find out he's been doing all this shit.
Yeah.
Now, whether you're aware of it or not, you're asking yourself, did I participate in something like that?
I don't
Does
know.
he have a video of me getting fucked? Or
Maybe that's
doing...
why Kanye's tweeting the way he is right now. I don't know.
What is Kanye a genius or a retard? I can't. He's somewhere right in between, and I don't know if he's like, I'm just not smart enough to get it, or if he's just an idiot. Please tell me.
He's not either one of those things. He is somebody
an
that
artist.
he has a public platform, and he's saying things that people are he's desensitizing people, I think, is the point. And that's that's
to get
fine.
comfortable, you need to get uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of the
Yeah.
motto. Yeah, he's that's a good way to put it.
Well, it's like people asking, why is Britney Spears making all these weird videos and putting them up and To me, it makes perfect sense. Like, she's doing exactly what she's expected to do. What you thought this is what she does. This is what she's been told to do and taught to do.
Yes.
She makes money doing this is what she does. What, you suddenly want her to change because her eyes are a little bit too crazy for you? What, now you suddenly don't enjoy what she does? When you fed off of that for most of her life, what you paid her to do for most of her life, now you're suddenly like, oh, poor Britney. Spare me your outrage. Kanye is let Kanye be Kanye. If Kanye wants to act crazy, it's funny because I get on people's nerves a lot because people say that I'm too tense, I'm too hyper, right? I express too much, I emote too much, I emote too much, stuff like that. And it's like, are you triggered by that? Like,
right.
What about what Kanye is saying is bothering you?
Yeah. I'm amused by it. I just don't necessarily get it all the time. Like,
yeah, I don't think it's meant to be God.
Maybe not.
I think that sometimes
I'm always trying to analyze the message, like the black KKK outfits.
Yeah.
Right? Like, was that just a publicity thing, or was there a message behind? Because I'm trying to, as an artist.
Because what are they going to do? Call him a Nazi?
Right. Like,
he's pushing it.
Is he just? And it could be as simple as that.
People have gone too far.
I think
gone too far. And
so it's not that he's a genius.
Back.
It's just that he's pushing the boundaries.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that it's not genius, but it is genius that he recognized that he has the ability to do it.
I'll give you that. That's fair.
He's the right one for that job.
Okay.
And I think that there are certain times where he is speaking directly to someone and he knows it.
Yes,
and they know
agree
when they see it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think he's great. Kanye's, he's a musical genius. Nobody denies that.
Not his music, no. I think this kind of stuff that he's doing now, you've got this camp who's trying to completely cancel him from the face of the earth.
Yeah.
And it's like, well,
I feel bad that he got succubied by, a Kardashian.
Yeah,
that's sad.
that's awful. Yeah, I feel bad for him. What do you think about Nick Fuentes?
I don't think anything about him. He doesn't impress me. He takes up none of my brain power. I mean, it's really easy to be whatever you are. I mean, there's a crowd for everyone. I guess he's not my type of crowd.
Yeah. You think he's wrong?
I don't watch him, so
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have much of an opinion. I mean, he's not my type of guy.
Well, I wasn't familiar with him until Kanye was going on. Like, was it Tim Pool?
Mm-hmm.
I think they went on Tim Pool, and that was the one Kanye left in the middle of the show because Tim was
I didn't watch it.
asking. Yeah, that was back when I used to watch Tim Pool. He's so arrogant. And he treats his staff like shit, and I can't handle that. But, yeah, Kanye went on with Nick Fuentes on Tim Pool, and Kanye got pissed off at Tim and left the show right in the middle of it. And then he went on Alex Jones not too long after that in the Mask. Did you see that one?
No.
Yeah, and that was when he said he loved Hitler. And I've never seen anybody more uncomfortable. I never thought it was possible to make Alex Jones uncomfortable. But I get what Kanye was saying. He was basically talking about Christ and Christianity, and he was like, "I love everybody, man. I love Hitler." You know, he just saying love positive energy, and Alex Jones goes, "Oh, we don't love Hitler, okay? Let's just make that." It's like Alex Jones is squirming. I've never seen that because he's so, you
Well,
know.
I think there's something that we need to keep in mind about Kanye is that we're watching somebody go through. Um, he has been discovering and learning about his faith, and his connection. I think we're watching somebody on a public stage that for years has been going on their own private esoteric journey.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
It's like watching Russell Brand, from where
Boy,
what Russell
was
Brand
that
was to where he is
that was a
now.
wild
Yeah,
journey.
yeah. People, and Kanye's a very public person, so we see all the ups and downs of his own personal journeys. And as an artist, I don't think that people understand or realize, but people used to, because we used to have real artists like Warhol and stuff, where
Oh
it's
yeah.
like their art, their life is their art. So their
Yes.
ups is their art, their downs they
Yes.
show through
It's
art.
all one and the same. They
When
are
did we?
the art.
Yeah. When
Yeah.
did we start judging artists so much? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
let them be crazy artists. That's
That's
what
what
that,
they.
that's
That's
what they're
what they
meant
do.
to be.
I think
Yeah.
Joe Rogan said sometime. He said, "If you're a true genius, you're crazy as fuck."
Yeah.
And he said he knows a lot of them. Obviously
Mm-hmm.
he knows some of those um, influential artists in the world. But I think he was talking about Kanye. He was
Yeah.
like, people who have that level of creativity are crazy as fuck.
Yep. And we're also watching a man who is publicly crying for his children.
Yeah.
And I remember a period of time during my divorce where I did not have access to my children, and I lost Dixon
Oh my
was my best friend.
God,
That's how I
really?
met Brandon. I was in the height of my alcoholism. Or the
Really?
one time I had alcoholism in my life was because my kids were so far away from me. So we're
Oh,
watching a man
man.
on a public stage who is missing his
Yeah.
children
Yeah, that's
and
an
everything
interesting
else.
perspective.
So,
Yeah.
it's,
I take my kids for granted sometimes, I think.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'm here every day, they're here every day. But yeah, I can't imagine if I didn't have access to them.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, and
that would crush me.
so he's being himself, and I think it's hilarious, and he knows how he affects people, and I think it's even more
But this is
hilarious
another
that they do that.
example of the narrative, like the control backfiring. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was telling you earlier, I didn't know who Alex Jones was until he got banned.
Mm.
And then I started seeking him out. Like, why is this guy banned, right?
Right.
And so all these people who were getting kicked off platforms, it's like, well, what are they saying that's right? Because obviously we're being lied to, and these people are being censored. So those are the people I want to seek out. I think that kind of backfired,
Right.
right? And I think, with stuff like Kanye doing these things, it's making, because I think Candace Owens was really inspired by some of Kanye's questions that he was asking. And she's gone down some rabbit holes. Like
Oh man, I love her stuff.
she's
She's
a
so much
wild
fun.
lady.
Yeah, she's so much fun.
Well,
Her
what was-
Bridget McCrone series.
Yeah,
and
oh
her-
my
Oh
gosh.
my gosh.
I mean, they have tried so hard to suppress that.
Yeah, but she still isn't being sued.
She's talking to Harvey Weinstein. I mean, and
Yeah,
I always
yeah.
thought that was a weird one because it's like, is it rape if you're making a deal? Like, if you want to be in this movie, here's what you have to do. Somebody agrees to it consensually and then gets what was promised. How is he a criminal there?
Well, the libertarian view of it would be that she's not.
Right.
Right. But depending on what state you're in,
Yeah.
it could be, a variety
Leveraging
of different
power, but
charges.
still, like,
Yeah.
when did we get away from having consequences for our own decisions and actions as adults? Accountability, in other words.
I don't know.
We've gotten away from. There's no accountability anymore.
No, there's no accountability. But it's only getting worse too. So
Well, do you
The
think the
next generation
cultural
is even worse.
shift will correct it? So, like,
So
I don't know.
I've got children that are 9 years old to 24, right?
okay.
Okay, and I've
How many
got
kids do you have in the home right now?
right now I have 4, but I've got 7 kids total.
Okay, so 4 in the home, ranging from what to what? In the home.
9 to 14 years old.
That's what mine are.
And
Nice.
then I've got my older set of kids, and they are 19 to 23.
Okay.
And so I've got several generations. And what I've noticed is the older generation, the 23, that generation, no accountability.
Really?
Yeah. Totally, like, almost can't even think for them. Like, I mean, just a mess.
And you're talking about that whole generation on average, like just
Like
their
that
friends
20,
and that kind of age
20,
range.
yeah, just a mess.
Oh,
I mean, like,
I have experienced this.
yeah, complete mess. But then I've got a 14-year-old to 9-year-old at home, and there's 4 of them. The way that they think, that younger generation, is completely different and way more capable and way more motivated than this.
The generation ahead of them.
Yeah.
Well, why do you think that is? Is that, I mean, you parented both groups of kids. Were you part of the equation?
No, it has to be the internet. That's the only variable.
Okay, so why did the internet affect one generation but not the other? Or how did it affect them in different ways, do you think?
I don't know. That's something that I need to think about and explore. But here's another component that's really funny. And it's only funny, I don't know. You can take it for what it is. But so, the older generation, the 20 to 30, that's, huge Snapchatters, all that kind of stuff and everything. Their social media is like huge. They will start fights. They will start physical fights over social media posts. Like, it's very serious internet.
Which is zero
culture,
world, which is not real.
Yeah,
The internet,
but they make it serious outside
they
in the
put
physical
value
world.
into it.
Yes,
yeah.
a lot.
Okay.
The younger generation, my 9-year-old, she has a Facebook profile, and it's of a middle-aged woman, right? And she is part of a group on Facebook that has easy 15,000 plus members.
Okay.
And all these members are preteen girls that are all on fake middle-aged boomer mom fake profiles. And all they do is go around trolling the whole of Facebook.
Really? So they laugh at it almost. So you're saying it's more than parenting. It's a social phenomenon. One group takes it so seriously that the younger group looks at it and goes, "That's ridiculous. We're gonna challenge your viewpoint."
They go outside and they have their phones with them all the time. Okay, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But they go do things. These kids sit on their phones most like don't go anywhere and do things like.
Because that was cool when they were growing up. They were at the right time and place when that was the thing.
And they during high school, COVID. My oldest, he graduated high school. It was a COVID graduation.
Oh no!
So they have been stuck inside, doing
Yeah.
nothing, and they haven't broken free of it. It's become too.
So they almost
whatever.
got trapped.
Yeah.
In that place and time.
The younger generation has integrated the internet better into the world, but the downside is they can't spell, they can't do simple math because they've got computers.
Yes,
and
they've got all the
dictate-
tools to do it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it's interesting watching, this whole, because, the internet I didn't have cell phones when I graduated. In 1995, that's like when the internet was released or something,
Yeah, no. We got our first AOL account in 1995. And I remember thinking, this internet is never going to last. Somebody calls your phone, you get kicked off. It takes 10 minutes to dial up. It's like, this is a terrible idea.
It did. I used to
I was so wrong.
Yeah, it was crazy. I used to joke around. I lost my first best friend I had in my life to a chat room. Swear to
How
God.
was that?
She just chose the chat room over me.
Oh, I see.
I'm not kidding.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting in what you're saying is how the younger generation observes the older generation. Obviously, that's what they have to learn from. And whether it's your parents or your older peers, older brothers or kids at school, and they're forming their own opinions of, is this something we want to follow after, or is this something we want to take another direction?
Right.
And that's an organic thing
It's
talking about right there, right?
Yeah. My 12-year-old daughter, there was a period of time around the COVID time where I could tell her social media was she started saying um, that she was homosexual, that she liked girls, all kinds of stuff, which at the time, I don't really care. I told her, I said, that's, I don't care what you are. You're 9 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's good for you, and told her, that it wasn't my business. That wasn't my business,
Yeah.
basically. Um, and then sat back and watched over the years and watched how she went from thinking that to me going on my parent router and blocking Instagram. And then suddenly she decided she wasn't like that anymore. And then you can literally watch the internet. I've watched in real time all my kids affect them in different ways by the different venues that they were on.
Really.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're talking about different generations and kind of observing in the winding path of social media. So like social media for me came out like while I was in college, and I wasn't a super social person. I didn't really want to connect with anybody. I didn't really give a shit. But playing in a band from up until 2012, it was something that I really could have embraced and used and utilized. But we did it the old-fashioned way. We already had a decent following, so it's like we had to have another avenue. But you're still posting flyers, doing that whole shit. But then now coming back into it in 2025 and getting the band started again, I've found it a very useful tool.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be a useful tool
Mm-hmm.
if you use it in a positive. As I've always said, it's like a hammer. You can build a house with it, you can kill somebody with it.
Right.
It's like social media has a ton of value. And I look at what X has done. I think X has changed the world. I think it broke the narrative.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of people that political ideologues where it's like, I'm like, just get on X, and they'll say, well, I don't trust anything on X because it's owned by Elon Musk, right? So like, once you get to those kind of dividing lines, but social media is very valuable, but it also has this incredibly dark side to it. I mean, there are some people that I see, they must be on the fucking thing 6 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
Adults
Mm-hmm.
who are getting like just reposting memes and just doing just meaningless shit. It's dangerous to adults too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm online a lot, but not on my personal. Like, I'm not a big poster on my personal pages. Um,
Yeah, I don't see much out of you unless you have a poignant comment. It's usually pretty spot on.
yeah, I did that a couple of times. Like, I mean, under during the election, I posted certain things and randomly I'll do it, but like, I don't get online and talk about my personal feelings or anything like outright or anything
Yeah.
like that.
Well, we've become I think one thing that social media did that has been really disappointing is that it's created a very narcissistic society. It's like
Right.
everybody needs to know my opinion and my view, and I get freedom of speech and all that, but like, you're an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Shut up.
Right.
You
Well, I don't think that everybody, like, people, they use everything they can as a weapon against you when they're upset, and anything and everything that I do and say affects my shop.
Sure.
So
You have a
by,
brand.
yeah, so
and
by that
yeah.
nature alone,
Yeah.
my personal views, I don't go
Yeah.
talk about online.
Right.
I mean, being on this podcast, it's like, people could get upset, and use that against me because, I think that, Trump is funny, or something
Right.
like that, So to me, it's always been a very dangerous thing. You ever heard of Suicide Girls? So I was an original suicide girl, right? Well, this website, it's not it's kind of a spicy website.
Okay.
If you know what I mean. It was
Yeah.
like original, it's the
Edgy
whole
shit.
edgy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like then I found out my dad found out about it. You know what I mean?
Oh my.
So like that taught me a long time ago. Like
Yeah.
keep your ship tight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because because they go and everybody has to have an opinion about other
Right.
people, you know?
Well, we didn't get any training on social media. It just dropped, right? So I remember the MySpace thing for a minute, and I was just like, that's not really me. I'm not a connector kind of guy. But then once I started getting on it, I got on it because I was starting a podcast. I wanted to do my music, and I wanted to promote it there. But I would find myself getting like, oh, this guy just posted some bull. That's wrong, you know. And I'm like getting on there, and I'm like, this is negative. Like this is. Then you waking up in the morning, like, what'd that motherfucker say? You know, it's like
Oh
I
yeah,
found
it
myself
rules
getting
your world.
yeah, and I realized it was unhealthy quick, and I was like, I got to make some rules here.
Yeah.
Like so it's like it's got to be positive. It's got to be productive in some way, like promoting something or promoting a brand even. And like it has to be something I want to be proud of later.
Yeah.
Right? Like would my kids be proud of this post if they saw? You know, is this and if the answer is no, then I don't post it. But I had to make those rules for myself because there's no it's like the Wild West. People just do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
And they're so disrespectful and so rude.
And they will go after you in a variety of ways. Like,
oh, and they'll gangbang you.
Yeah,
man.
like even little things like, you know, like Google reviews. You know, is a way to hurt a small business is, you know, go online and
shit on somebody.
You know, yeah. And it's so funny because
if you find out an owner is a Trump supporter, you go on to Google reviews and just dump on them.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I've had people do that to me. Told me I had a review left for me that was started out as the best tattoo I've ever gotten or something to that nature. Beautiful tattoo, couldn't have done it any better. But I don't like her politics, so I'm leaving a 1 star.
So they literally said in their argument they complimented you and then said that's retarded.
Yeah.
So I got this is the only question I actually wanted to ask you.
I've had people leave me, employees or you know, independent artists or whatever, walk out on me in Antifa style protest because they don't like my politics.
Well, see, that's such a problem because if you believe what you believe and I believe what I believe and we have other things in common, can't we focus on those things? But it's like it's such an ideal to them. Again, it goes back to ideology. It's a personal attack because you've made it part of your own individuality.
And even more than that, they have been instilled with a lot of fear. They actually are in fear, even though I have gone to drag shows longer than they've been alive.
Right.
Even though I grew up in Southern California and half my friends were gay.
Yeah.
Somehow, because I voted, even though they don't know how I voted.
Right.
In their mind, I have voted or made political choices that are a detriment to their life.
Yeah.
They don't feel safe.
I had a guest pull out of a podcast that told me that I was responsible for ruining the country.
Yes.
Because they found out I supported Trump. But I want to ask you this before I forget, because I'm an artist. I play shows, right? You fuck up a chord or something, you just keep playing, right? Tattoo artistry is one of the only art mediums where you can't fuck up.
Yeah, but you're not supposed to, right?
You can't, like, you ruin somebody's arm. Like, how do you, like, normalize that in your mind? Like, my anxiety would, I don't know, I just couldn't do it.
It's very, very high stress.
How? It is.
Yeah. By the end of the day, your brain is mush.
And so you started getting into this when you were 12-ish. And you've done it ever since?
Yeah, so 12-ish, played around for years, and then, you know, started formal apprenticeship around 15.
Okay, what does an apprenticeship look like?
Well, back then is completely different from what it is now in Arkansas.
What was it like back then?
Back then, it basically
you were
was
15.
I was 15.
Okay.
Being a slave to a bunch of far older men, and being treated like crap for 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it was awesome, actually.
Okay.
It was. I mean,
okay.
it's not what these girls go through these days.
Right.
It was real apprenticeship. I mean, they didn't let me tattoo on anybody for 3 years. They let me pierce way before they let me tattoo.
Well, piercing, you fuck up. I mean, can grow back, right?
Well, I mean, it can be way more dangerous to be pierced than tattooed.
Okay, fair. But
Yeah.
fucking up somebody's tattoo, like, that's
Yeah, it
not
sucks,
good.
dude. It's a bad thing.
Have you done it?
Have I done it? I mean, everybody's done it.
Everybody's
Every
done it.
tattoo artist has fucked up
Yeah,
something
sure.
on a tattoo.
Got to.
You know, and no matter what tattoo that I do, I spend half my night when I get home sitting in a bathtub, enlarging a picture and crying about every little square inch I did. A true artist
Because you're a
is
perfectionist.
true artist is never happy with their
You're
art.
never happy with it. No,
Ever, ever. Like if I could,
I don't
do,
know.
like,
Surely you can be satisfied. You can be like, that's.
for now, you know what I mean.
Yeah, but you can't think that way.
I can't help it.
Yeah, but
Nothing is ever good enough when it comes
I had
to
to let that
art.
stuff go. Once it was done because it'll drive you insane. Oh, I could put this little harmony right here.
Yeah.
You know, but what am I going to do? Dig the vault out and re-release? You know, you can't think that way. I
Yeah.
can't, personally. But,
Yeah.
like, I can't imagine the stress. Like, if I fuck up a note in a song, you know, nobody's affected, but you fuck up a tattoo and it's permanent.
It's very stressful. We specialize in fine lines, so everything has to be, you know, just right.
So did you have any formal art training, or were you just naturally talented at it and put your time and energy into it?
I don't have any formal art training now, but I grew up, like I said, my mother's an art dealer, and you know, I grew up in a household that looks like a museum pretty much.
So you were around it. You had
Constantly. The art training that I mean, I didn't have any formal art training, but by the time I was 10, I had already been to Italy and seen the greats, you know, so I was trained so much by my parents and continue to
You had
be.
your own education in it without a formal education.
Very much so.
That was kind of with me with music. You know, I had a dad who played in a band. I was able to go see live shows. I had his record collection from the 70s. That's a college education. You know, as long as you have the talent and the ear to put that stuff together, you don't need any formal training.
Yeah, there was never a question in my household that I wasn't to know this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it was completely expected. So.
Do you do your own stuff? Like, are these your work?
I mean, from like 25 years ago, maybe some of my legs up here, you know, but a lot of apprentice work and.
Did you doodle?
Like that.
You ever doodle on yourself? Just go free, like you didn't have a plan, just started working on something. Have you?
Yeah, it's a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, a bunch of stuff, but yeah.
What's the most sensitive part of the body to get tattooed on?
That's different for everybody. I mean, some people don't like bones, some people don't like tendons and ligaments. I don't like tendons and ligaments like this area.
Right.
Back here, I don't like that very much right here. But I mean, it's different for everybody, honestly.
I only have one, and it was a drunken night, 19 years old, watching Pantera home videos, and I had a buddy there with a tattoo gun, and I was like, I want a fucking Pantera tattoo. This logo, the CFH logo. And so I drew it out with a Sharpie, and I was like, I want to do it myself, you know. So I get this gun out. I was like, fuck, this hurts.
Yeah.
Like right inside of the foot here, you know. And thankfully he finished it up, and it doesn't look as terrible as it could have. But that was enough for me. I was like, I can't do it.
Men generally do worse at tattoos than women.
Well, women have a much higher pain tolerance than men, I think.
Yeah, we also have like 93% female ratio of clientele in my shop, though, too.
Really?
Yes.
How do you think that is? Is that an organic kind of thing, or
We're a female shop, so
all female?
Yeah, I have one boy that we put in a small room off to the side right now.
That
And
doesn't
just because
sound
I
good.
really like him.
That didn't sound good.
I know. That sounded bad. But
Don't clip that.
yeah, but no, it's a female inclusive and safe space basically.
Nice.
So,
Okay.
you know, the shops in this area, I mean, I don't know if you've ever heard of, you know what Beeline does to young women in this town or
Beeline.
Yeah, some of the tattoo shops, you know, and how they treat women.
No, I don't know anything about that world.
Yeah, like I used to say it was like a rite of passage for young ladies to get like molested at Beeline. You know, when they get pierced and stuff.
That's a thing.
Oh yeah. We do thousands upon thousands of piercings per month. So I get a lot of piercings from, other shops come through, and lots of stories are told,
And when
and
you live in that world and you hear something enough, when there's
over
smoke,
and over and
there's
over and
probably
over.
fire.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And night times was notoriously terrible, on that stuff too. And then there's some dude up in Rogers who was, molesting women's nipples all over the place. And yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I
My
mean, there was
God.
that thing about Club Tattoo years ago where they got in trouble for saying punch him in the pussy or something like that, and it was on TV. And instead of them getting shut down or people boycotting or anything like that or anything happening, they now sell like T-shirts that say "as seen on TV." So
Is that just good marketing, though?
I,
Are they talking about like a clitoris piercing? Is that what that means?
no, they mean like punch him in the pussy. I don't know. I don't.
You're the edge lord. You should know this stuff.
I mean, like,
I'm very naive compared to your world. Like,
I
you live in
mean-
the real shit, man.
I mean, to me, it's not abnormal. I grew up, in the industry. I grew up with a bunch of men, and we had to carve out our own ways. I didn't know any
So-
other female tattoo artists when I was young, and
I guess I kind of grew up in a bubble, and I like the whole talk because I very much support masculinity. I don't think a man outranks a woman. I think a marriage is a partnership, right? It's equal. You each have your own strengths and weaknesses. Some of my strengths are like I'm the more affectionate one. Like I'm the more emotionally connected one with the kids. My wife's more the stern, like just militaristic kind of let's just, get shit done. That's not the same role in every family. Every family's different. You find those roles, but like I'm very defensive of masculinity, and I feel like it has been under attack for a long time. And then like you hear the term toxic masculinity and stuff, and I guess I've been in a bubble because I've had a lot of women on this show who have talked about sexual abuse, sexual like inappropriate sexual advances and things from men, and I've never observed that in my life. Maybe it just you think it's I don't know. Like it exists, but I've just never been aware of it. But I hear so many stories. Like,
yeah,
I get like the attack on toxic masculinity, but like, what's that line between like, what makes a dude a creep? You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
I don't
Pretty
understand
much, I
it.
mean,
But
walk into Beeline Tattoo, you'll see a creep. But
I feel like those guys have given a bad name to masculinity. Is I guess the end game I'm trying to get to.
they give a bad name to masculinity,
Yes.
and yes,
And that's
my
unfortunate.
apprenticeship was full of sexual slurs, was full of talking down to me because of me being a woman.
Why did you
all
keep
of that
going
kind
back?
of stuff? And well, because I wanted to tattoo. And
And you just felt like
many,
you had to put up with that shit. and
well,
that
I
was
mean,
all
a
you could
whole
do.
look was created. Kat Von D was the creation. I used to look like I was a ripoff of Kat Von D. We all were.
Right,
Like,
right.
we're just, I think I'm older than her. So
Hey, I even
I'm
know
not
who
ripoff
that
of her.
is.
She's this tattoo chick. The look,
Yeah.
the black hair
She's
with the
gorgeous.
bangs,
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the tattoos. That was created
Yeah.
by us to be able to get ahead in the industry, because people would not come in the shop and let us tattoo them. They'd be like, "Oh, you're a girl. We don't want a girl tattooing us."
Are you serious?
Yes. So like that was a tool that we used to be able to break into the industry. It was what we used. Like, "Oh, you're hot. Look at that hot girl. I want the hot girl tattooing me." That was all created.
Wow.
And so, now that my generation has broken in,
Right.
and we're at the age where we can own our own shops, I created a space where, first of all, in the state of Arkansas, they have some of the worst tattoo regulations I've seen in the whole. It's horrible.
Really? What?
So
tell me
it's-
about. I know
it's-
nothing about this world.
400. First of all, you only need 5 years of experience to be able to apprentice another person. I'm sorry, but 5 years is not enough.
Really?
Yeah, especially when half the people in the city sued the state to get their license, and they didn't even get a formal apprenticeship.
Really? So 5 years of what exactly?
Of having your license.
Of having a license.
You can apprentice other people.
Okay.
Okay. So back in the day, apprenticeships should be like you work really hard to get your apprenticeship. You work like a slave. You show your artistic talent. You contribute. You work over a period of time. You get mentored. You take your time and you learn, right? Now, with the state of Arkansas and a lot of other states, I'm sure, but this state, all you need is 6 months, 400 hours, and you draw 4 lines on a piece of practice skin over a Zoom call. And you have to have the person who has an apprenticeship license, that i.e. somebody who's been tattooing for 5 years. And usually those people in this town are charging people anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000 to apprentice them. So basically you can buy, if you have, there's a whole school.
Wait a minute.
The guy who owns
What?
Arkansas School of Permanent Cosmetics a couple of years ago paid $120,000 to pay lobbyists to change the Arkansas laws so that they carved up the licensing so that you have so many hours, and then you have, if you want to do medical micropigmentation, you can go get some more hours and stick it onto your license. But so basically you pay him enough money and he just basically runs you through the hours and gives you what you want.
You gotta be kidding me.
And he's not a tattoo artist. I mean, they have their piercers practicing on learning on styrofoam cups. So there are 5 million shops in Arkansas popping up on every corner, everywhere, because you can just, you either find...
You're saying the standards have dropped dramatically.
There are no standards.
There are no standards.
Yeah, there are no standards.
And we're doing this not just in tattoo. We're doing this all over the country.
Body in this state, I don't know, like Oklahoma's a lot better. You need like way more hours and stuff. They're better. But Arkansas has basically sold out where they've made tattooing like hair school.
Why would you do that? If you fuck up a haircut,
because this guy paid the lobbyist to get the people to do what he wanted. Yes,
so
he rewrote the whole rules.
It's all this backdoor conspiracy.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Yeah, we have until August of last year. I threw such a fit.
This is like breaking news. Like this is real shit, dude.
Since last year in August, they changed the rules. It was before then. I threw a fit and like threw up such a ruckus because we had pedophiles we still have pedophiles that are licensed right now. So I had a situation
like
where
convicted pedophiles?
Yes.
Not suspected or alleged.
No.
Okay.
No. Convicted, and I'm sure of it. And the reason I'm sure of it is we have, I had a boys shop at one time. It did not last.
What do you mean a boys shop?
It had boys in it. It was a shop full of boys.
Okay.
Yeah. I had a girl shop and then I had a boys shop. And then, so I went to go hire this artist for the boys shop, and he kept hee-hawing with me about his filling up his 1099 stuff, his W-9 and stuff. And I finally told him after he was working a couple of days, I said, if you don't go fill this out, I'm not paying you. You're not getting paid. Okay, so he finally went and did it. Well, when he did it, I did the background check. He was a level 3 sex offender. And he was licensed by the state of Arkansas to tattoo in a state where we tattoo 16-year-olds. So
you can get tattoos at 16?
Mm-hmm.
When did that change? I think you had to be 18 to get a tattoo in Arkansas.
16 with parental.
With parental.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I lost it. Immediately fired him. Called up the state, threw a fit. What the heck is going on here?
So what you're alleging is that the state is allowing child predators to work in a position where they're coming in contact with children.
So let me finish real quick. So after that happened, I got rid of him. He ended up going back to prison because he he was supposed to by law tell me that he was a sex offender, and he didn't.
Oh my.
So anyways, that happens. They changed law in August to do a background check. Fantastic, finally, thank God. Because also at the time, they were also allowing minors to tattoo. There was a 14-year-old at Beeline tattooing, and you can go on the Google reviews and see that.
Was she badass?
No, go look at the Google reviews.
Okay.
Basically, yeah, so they finally changed the law.
You're moving so fast, I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
trying to process the things you're saying. You're giving me a lot all at once here. Like
Yeah.
this is wow.
So
Sorry.
that was one of the things, because I had been talking to the guy who was, got the rules changed, and some of the
Right.
things that I wanted those were two of the things that I wanted, and we got it in August.
Well, what two things specifically?
Pre-licensure background checks to
Right.
make sure you're not a pedophile,
Right.
and your GED or diploma.
Okay.
Because it makes no sense to allow somebody to tattoo underneath 18 years old if you cannot sue them civilly.
Okay.
Okay, that makes no sense. Why
Right.
would you let a child have a state license?
Right.
You know.
No, yeah, that's common sense. Seems
Yeah.
like.
So we got those changes through. In any case, so I forgot what we were talking about though. What was the point of that?
I'm just shell shocked about all this. Well, we were talking about, letting pedophiles work around children.
Yeah, that was.
We had talked
that's
about
insane. Oh yes. Okay. So after that, after they finally changed the law, there was an owner of one of the shops around here that just recently died, and he was a pedophile out of California from 20 million years ago, and he was still licensed after that. So they grandfathered in. They didn't go back
really.
and make
And
people take
remove.
right.
Okay.
Yes. And I knew then for sure, because then I went to go get my PMU licensing to add those hours onto my other
What is
tattoo.
PMU?
Permanent cosmetics.
Okay.
And I was
Permanent
adding on
cosmetics, okay.
yes, I was adding on the hours. Well, when I went to go add on the hours, they made me do the background check. And I brought it up to them and I said, so are you retroactively going on all the people that you've licensed before and having them do a background check, like say when we renew our license or something? And they're like, no.
Really?
Yeah. So there's gotta
So you
be.
get grandfathered in.
Yeah, they didn't retroactively check any issued licenses.
I mean, that kind of stuff can't be limited to the tattoo industry, though.
No, and that's what's so worrisome about the Department of Health. Yeah, I mean, they've been understaffed for a while, and it shows. I mean, it seems like they're doing better, but they stuck us under cosmetics, and I don't understand why they would do that, but they did. They don't really know anything about tattooing, so it's really important to do your research when it comes to tattoos about who your artist is, because a lot of these little shops are popping up here and there. They're basically buying their license and opening up a shop.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I got to digest all that. I might actually go back and rewatch this one. I don't usually watch the podcast, but I'm going to rewatch this one. I want to talk to you about as the owner of the business, do you just, when somebody comes in, they tell you what they want? Do you have templates that they choose from? Do you get to be creative? Do they give you ideas? What's the artistic process like? Or is it different all of the time?
It's all of that.
All of it.
All of that at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean...
Do you ever just get to free range and somebody says, I want you to just freewheel? Really?
Yeah, they just come in and we consult and they tell me what they want, the style that they're thinking.
Really? So you get a lot of creative energy. So what is there's, for me, like with songwriting, there's two parts of it. There's the process. I have a process that I go through, but then the other part of it is like pulling the ideas out, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the creative part. The mechanical part is arranging it. The creative part is creating it, coming up with the ideas. So what's your relationship and process like when you're going into a tattoo?
The first thing I do when I am creating a tattoo is to take their ideas and just start daydreaming about it, honestly. Just sit there and daydream.
Do you do a consultation first and then kind of draw back and schedule it later so you have some time to...
Yeah, usually,
prepare
at least 2 weeks to a month before.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Do you do pre-sketches? And okay, wow.
Yeah,
so
I talk to them for, before we come into I get the design all done.
So it's like writing a song.
Yeah.
Stages
And sometimes it's quick and sometimes it's longer. And
Sure.
honestly, I do a lot of cover-ups. And
so people come in and say, I want something fixed.
Yeah, so sometimes, I mean, there are times when, we're talking about a process where it's taking months to cover something up because they go through several whiteout sessions, or we're doing
What's a
something like
whiteout session?
we just literally white the tattoo out
Oh,
to try to lighten it out.
okay.
I mean, those are. I'm doing some walk-ins lately, not many though. So, but most of the people I'm working with are like 4 to 6 hour appointments.
Really?
So it takes, months of preparation sometimes.
Really?
I did one horse illustrated piece that, I mean, that was 5 or 6 appointments to complete it, and it was like that big, but it was a
Yeah.
paint illustration. And so it.
So you do a color too? You do
I
all
like realism color, well, paint style, realism color.
because I mean, growing up, you didn't see color tattoos when I was growing up. Now that's obviously a thing. Like, how did you learn to integrate color into tattooing?
Well, I don't know. I didn't learn anything. Honestly, nobody taught me
Right,
anything.
that's what I mean. Like, how did you
I just
get
started
to where you
doing
could do
it.
it?
Well, if I wasn't a watercolor or oil painter, it would have been a lot harder.
Okay, so you already had yeah, that's
I
right.
had
So
an
you had a
understanding of
background
color
of color
and-
and
yes.
okay, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Naturally. So you're just kind of importing that into the tattoo world and okay, nice. But still the execution of it is a lot different than watercolor, obviously. So how do you test? I mean, you can't just go testing on people's
You
arms.
test it on
You
yourself.
test it on yourself. So that's when you're fucking around.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's why my legs are just devastated.
Just
you know what
fucked up. Just a
Yeah,
notebook.
you know
but
it's
that's
your-
kind of neat though, because as a songwriter, I'm always sketching lyrics on notepads
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But you've got them on your
Yeah, you
your
should see
legs.
Brandon's parents the first time they met me. They just
Really?
loved me.
Really? Have you done some work on them?
They're Pentecostal, so no.
I wouldn't think so. I thought that was a joke. I thought that would have been funny if Mr. Stevens had some of your work.
He
Brandon,
does have a tattoo, actually.
Does he?
His Brandon's mother, who died, actually tattooed Larry herself.
really?
Yes.
Is this after they knew you or before?
No, Brandon's mother died when he was about 3 to 4 years old.
Oh, he was young. I think I
Yeah.
knew that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I knew that.
Larry used to be an old greaser around
That's
here running back
right.
in the
Yeah, I
day.
knew that.
So
I
he
knew that.
has tattoos.
Okay.
But yeah, no, he would never ever get a tattoo now. No,
Yeah.
No.
No. Is he still a plane?
Is he he is not still flying planes. Nope. Nope, he's in his retirement stage,
Retirement stage, that's
You know,
good.
he had Brandon had 2 younger brothers, and they're all grown up now.
Yeah.
And so, they're doing the whole retirement thing.
Yeah.
He's still as spry as ever.
I don't. Yeah, I imagine. With artistry though, you don't ever retire from it because it's your like it's
No,
almost.
I'm just
linked.
waiting to get back to painting. At this point.
Yo, really?
Yes,
You
yeah.
want to get back to painting? You just can't
Yes.
make money at painting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way the nature of the business is, you have girls that come and go, and you have ebbs and flows in a tattoo shop. And when you're at a low ebb, it's up to you as the owner to fill in the slack.
Yeah.
And so every time there's a low point, I'm always going to be at a low point until my girls get of age. When my younger girls, I have a 12-year-old and I'm a 9-year-old. And that 12-year-old, when she hits 18, that'll be when I can retire.
Yeah.
I got to work until then.
Yeah.
And then I'll be able
But
to
once
again.
you retire, that's what you wanted to go back to is painting.
Yeah, preferably on a beach somewhere.
But it's interesting though that you can just paint some total fucking slop, get it in an art show, and sell it for $3,000. Mm-hmm. Like that happens too. Have you tried any of that?
I'm not interested in selling any art. When I do art, it isn't for anybody else.
Yeah. Well, that's where the lines get blurred, right? Because
Right.
I have a hard time charging for music because I want to just create it and share it, and I feel like, I don't know, I have a hard, I'm not.
I don't believe
not
in
a good-
artists getting paid. I think it sounds like money laundering to me. I don't.
It feels,
you know.
it feels gross.
Yeah,
Like you
no.
just want,
Yeah.
I
I lived
got
in New York for a year and a half. I went to gallery shows
really,
every day. It's a
yeah,
racket. It's,
yeah. It
you
is.
know.
It is kind of. I feel like the music, the product should be free. If you want to buy a T-shirt, that's where I can
Mhm.
get some money. If you
Yeah.
choose to interact in
Mhm.
that way and support it. But I got it. We were in Houston for the Robotic World Tournament, and I was on Facebook for a second. And like, I only get on there to do stuff that's productive, but there's always something that pops up that you see before you can interact with anything, right?
Mhm.
Like the first thing that comes up, and it was a songwrite, because I guess, as I'm in that algorithm or whatever, but
Mhm.
it was a songwriting expose where this guy was going to charge you hundreds of dollars to teach you how to write songs.
Mhm.
And I just made a comment on it. I was like, you cannot teach that.
Mhm.
And the guy, some famous musician, he's in the country world. I don't know who it is. He responded personally and said, "You absolutely can. I've been doing it for 20 years." And I said, "You might be able to teach the process, but you
Mhm.
can't teach the creativity of it
Yeah,
and
it's the
how to."
same with tattoo artists.
Yeah, you
Mhm.
cannot teach. Like, you can have inborn ability. You can put in the work, but that doesn't give you the ideas. And he kind of came back and said, "So do you not charge for your art or for your stuff?" And I was like, "No, I don't. Like,
Mhm.
if I get monetized or get a sponsor or something, that's fine, but no, I don't." I mean, I think we're on the same wavelength
Yeah,
as far as that goes, but
I do
you
because it makes me happy. I
but
enjoy
you
it.
also can't, like, you can have a child who's super talented at guitar, right? That
Mhm.
doesn't mean they can write a song,
Mhm.
and I can't teach them how to write a song.
Right.
It's something that you have to pull. That's a whole different level of
Well, it's
creativity.
like picking an apprentice.
Right, right. How do you
There's a
do that?
well, I can just see it. I can look at somebody's drawings and I
Yeah,
can tell immediately whether they have it in them or not. There are apprentices that there are people that I have licensed out there. They can accuse me of all kinds of things. They can hate me all they want. They can say all kinds of nasty things about me, but what they can't say is that I didn't nurture their God-given talent.
right.
You know, I know an artist when I see it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. It's
um,
obvious to an artist when
yeah,
you see that
yeah,
I don't know what you'd call it, that
hmm
frequency.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I
absolutely.
play if I play with somebody for the first time, and it's not there. It's not there. But if it clicks, it's
hmm
like, man, that's electric. You know
Yeah,
it when it's there. Yeah.
yeah. I think that's why this social climate and the way the world is and everything. That's why it's bothered. One of the things that's bothered me. It's because there are some artists out there that if politics had nothing to do with our life like it was when we were growing up,
Right.
I would still have friends right now. You know what I mean? I would still
It's
have
sad.
employees right
It's
now
sad.
if it wasn't for this insane,
But
stuff that
but
they've
you
done
only
to our
have two
culture.
options. You can cater to their feelings, or
Hmm.
you can defend your beliefs.
Hmm.
And I've chosen to defend my beliefs. I'm not going to
I don't
cater
even address
to
it.
weak mind. Well, I've lost a lot of
Yeah.
friends over it.
Yeah.
Recently had some people that don't want their kids coming over here anymore because we voted for Trump. It's like, wow, you're fucking the kids now. You're
Yeah.
not gonna let the kids hang out
Yeah.
because okay, well, good luck in the
Yeah.
real world, dumbass. But it's gotten nasty. I've lost a lot of friends
Oh
over it.
yeah.
But I've also seen some real true tough metal
Hmm.
in some people who disagree with me who have defended me and
Hmm. I
decided to,
mean, everybody has a right to believe what they want to believe. I can care less.
yeah,
All I care about is art. I go to my
right,
job to go do art. I don't go to my job to worry about who you're sleeping with.
right. But as
I
far as
don't go to
being
my job
somebody
to worry
being a
about
friend to you, like, what other politics matter as long as
it
you can
shouldn't.
be respectful of each other and love each other for the positivity you bring to the relationship.
You'd
The
think.
politics shouldn't come
It,
into it at all.
you'd think.
And
You'd think.
we're similar generation. Like, it used to be kind of taboo to even talk about politics and religion.
Well, it was just gauche.
Yeah,
Like, you just don't do that. Like,
yeah,
that's none of your business. It used to be like, I never grew up thinking about if somebody was gay or if they were a different color or anything like that. I never thought about that stuff because, like, it never even occurred to me to think about it.
Right.
I haven't thought about that kind of stuff as much as I've in my whole life, as
Right.
much as I've thought about it in the past couple of years.
I agree.
Because it's been forced
Because
fed
it's
down
been
my throat.
But that's part of the Marxist
Yeah,
plan
they
of
make
dividing.
you.
It is
They make you.
it's intentional
Yeah, they
to
make
divide
you.
us by race, by creed,
Yeah.
by sex, by gender, whatever. Any way they, and the more isolated you are, the less support you have. So as many groups and as many fractions as you can put people into, because the most dangerous thing to power is unity.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel like, whether you like Clinton or not, I feel like we were most united around that era, late 90s, early to the pre 9/11. I feel
Pre
like
9/11.
pre 9/11
I
we
felt
were,
like post 9/11 we were pretty.
well, we
connected.
unified, but I feel like it devolved quickly after that.
Yeah.
I feel like 9/11 was kind of like the end of the era. Like, we united around that, but I feel like it's been a different America since.
Right. Well, Obama, when he got in office, I mean, he did a lot to help stir up a lot of tension.
He did.
He
He
did
did.
some
And
quite
now
inflammatory
there was
speeches.
systemic racism happening.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Well,
not untrue.
I don't think racism will ever go away.
No,
though. Like,
but- right.
how do you make racism go away?
And why is it the government's problem?
I don't know. I just don't think that you can control a whole world and how they think, and to sit there and to focus on it only gives it power. It's
Yeah,
kind of like
100%.
these people that
100%.
I thought were my friends, when the whole time they hated me, not knowing, because they thought I'm some sort of way, and like there's nothing I can do about it. So I don't even, they address me about it. I don't address it back.
Right.
Because I have no power to give to it. Because I don't know what you're talking about.
Right, but you're choosing not to leverage negative energy.
Right.
Right? And that's a choice. And that's something I've also had to choose. It's like, again, I go back to positivity, productivity, purpose. I don't know why that's alliterative, why they're all P's, but it happened. And then, like, proud. Like, am I going to be proud of this later? Am I going to wake up in the morning and go, man, that was hateful? No, I don't want to do that.
Right.
I want to put out something, if I'm going to put something out, that's going to be a positive thing. And there's so much negativity, I just don't understand. And you don't even have to be a Christian or read the red letters or anything. It's common sense. Like, positivity, in my mind, should take precedent.
Well,
and
yeah.
that's a choice.
My mom always said, you put out 3 times what you get back 3 times what you put out.
And if you're putting out negativity all the time, shit's going to happen.
Yeah, and I'll tell you honestly, every time I react badly online, it comes back to haunt me.
to you.
Every single time.
I believe that.
It's like the Google reviews. I mouth off. And I decided a long time ago that I will stand up for myself. And I mean, I've gotten more bad reviews because I stand up for myself. Even if I'm in the right, I'm putting out I'm putting out negativity. So if I'm being negative,
well, is it negativity if you're defending yourself?
Well, if I'm doing it in a mean-spirited way, like I'm angry
okay.
when I'm doing
if
it.
You're
if I'm
just
having
being
an
nasty,
angry, if I'm having an angry reaction, and I'm not being righteous.
You're not,
For some reason, I feel like
there's a different energy to it.
Yeah. Maybe I'm being paranoid, but that'll be the time when they get 3 of their friends to add on another bad review,
right.
just for fun, because my day wasn't bad enough already. And what's more interesting is go look at the amount of reviews that my tattoo shop has in relation to other tattoo shops in this state. I have a 93% female ratio. What does that tell you? Women like to talk. I have to be on my best behavior. I have to be like a saint. If I am not absolutely perfectly sweet and nice, and everybody in my shop isn't having a perfect sweet smile on her face when somebody walks in, you can bet 2 seconds later they're gonna leave a bad review.
Really?
More on my shop. Yeah, go look at the reviews.
So
They speak
you're
for
almost a
themselves.
slave to that expectation.
And they treat us like Burger King. They come in and they'll be like, oh, I just want a little tattoo, and then like pull out like, you know, an 8-inch design that's like, and like expect us to do like a custom draw in 10 minutes or, you know, or
Yeah, the commercialism of what you do does it ruin it for you sometimes? That's why you want to get back to
it burns
watercolors.
people
It
out
burns
really,
you
really
out.
quick.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine somebody saying, "Hey, write me a song in 20 seconds."
Oh,
For
yeah.
my like
Yeah.
that just almost feels like, just kind of,
Yeah.
yeah,
And, you know, we're really accessible online. And you know, I like it like that. And people like it like that. But they also expect us to answer a message in like half a second.
yeah,
Or, you know, we get hundreds of messages a day. It
I'm
can
sure,
take days to go through things.
yeah.
And people are just not very understanding at all.
Well, everybody, I mean, we live in the age of Amazon.
Yeah.
We get everything immediate.
Yeah. Yeah. You
And
know?
you talk about a small business nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have the staff, and especially if you're popular,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have the ability to get back. Which ironically, these big companies don't have any way to talk to a person,
Right.
but they're so efficient. And then you go online and say you fucked up, and even if you did or didn't, they send you a new one.
People get so mad at us, you know, or the software will like glitch and channels will become disconnected and you're not getting the messages.
Right.
And there's absolutely, you know, this is the first shop that I've been accessible online like we are.
Right.
And I remember, and there's still shops out there, you don't get a tattoo, you know, appointment unless you go in, talk to them, leave a deposit, you know, all this kind of stuff. You're
Right.
not, you know, so it's amazing to me that I feel like my shop is held to some kind of difference, that I've enabled this standard that has come back to kind of bite me in the butt a little bit, where it's this like sense of entitlement, where it's like you're treating us like Burger King, not a creative, you know, art experience that's very detailed. And you know, sometimes, you know, you'll ask a client for a design a week ago, they won't send it to you, then they show up at your appointment and are like, oh, here it is, you just need to redraw it. And you're like, but that's like, you only have an hour an appointment and that's going to take me like 30 minutes to draw, and now you
Yeah.
sent me back. Like,
Yeah.
it's you know, it is.
Well, what the takeaway I'm getting from this is like, even if you get to do what you love, it's still a job. You're
Oh,
still
it's-
having to deal with bullshit. You're still having to deal
Yes.
with customers,
Absolutely.
or you know, depending on where you are. And if you're in corporate, you're dealing with management. If you're in, you know, in your line of business, you're dealing with the customer. They both suck. You're in the middle.
Yeah. And if an artist leaves, guess who's doing all their touch-ups?
Yeah, yeah,
You know, that's us. That's, you know, the senior artists that are left in the shop, mostly
Yeah.
me. And so it's a huge grind.
yeah.
It's
Absolutely, it is.
definitely, you know, it burns people out very quickly. And you don't have weekends. You don't have your weekends. You don't,
Really,
you know.
yeah.
I used to work until 2 a.m. for about 20 years of my, you know.
You're
life.
very utilitarian about how we scheduled this. Like, you're not, you know, usually women are all flowery with words. You were just like, when, where, I've scheduled this amount. Like, you were just very professional about it. And I was like, this bitch appreciates her time. Like,
Yeah.
she, you know, and I appreciated that as well. I was
Yeah.
like,
I'm at the business till like
Yeah.
8 a.m. till,
yeah, I was
you
like,
know,
you're
whatever.
just very conscious of your time and what you're doing. And I appreciate that as well, because you got to be. I mean, you got 4 kids at home, right? Still, and you got 3 others. You probably got to take care of Brandon most of the time.
Yeah, he's another kid.
You know, he's another kid, really. Love you, buddy. So it's really impressive what you're doing. Your knowledge of the fucking cosmos. I'd love to do. I don't know how much time we got. Not long. But have you done any, like, I know you're educated in a lot of things, but as far as like ancient civilizations, are you
Oh, yeah.
down that rabbit hole at all? Have you seen what they found under the pyramids?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I know all about that. All
Okay.
about Tartaria, everything.
What do you think's under the pyramids? 2
Um,
kilometers down.
it looks like some kind of energy device,
Coils.
some sort, maybe.
But there's like enough space for an underground civilization. Do you think it's possible some god or titan from eons past is trapped down there? Like, what's your why? Like, what do you hope it is? That's what I want. I want to hear.
Well, from what I understand, it probably connects to a larger network underneath the
Mm-hmm.
plateau. So I think
Right.
it's a little early to say
Yeah.
because, I mean, it might.
I'm just
This
asking you
might be
to
connected
fucking.
all over the world for all we
Yeah.
know.
I'm just asking you to speculate. Like,
I
I know we
mean,
don't have all the facts. It's just fun to be like, what would be the coolest outcome?
so I honestly think, and I mean, I'm way out there, but you ever seen the Taurus formation?
The Taurus, the bull.
Yes. Well, yes, but it's like a cone, like it goes like this. I don't know how to explain it.
Draw.
Um, so like this. Kind of looks like Deadpool.
Scream. Yeah, Deadpool. Or Scream
Anyways, the energy basically flows out like this.
Okay.
And I think that we are in, if we have a physical, that's so
Great
embarrassing.
drawing. No.
Yeah, right.
It's a sketch.
Kind of like almost like a wormhole look too, but
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. But anyways, I almost think in a flattish, roundish, we're almost like a flat world, like as it is up as it is below. Like I almost believe
Yeah.
in like the black hole sun theory. Like I don't, honestly, I believe in it all. I mean, we could.
No, I believe in everything and
I
nothing
believe
at the
it
same time.
exactly.
That's what,
like
yeah.
who knows? Maybe this is just a simulation, anyways.
Oh,
Maybe we
simulation
just go
theory.
back to the end of the line.
Well,
You
think
know
about
what
it.
I mean?
Think about, like, I don't know if you're a gamer at all, but if you play games like Red Dead Redemption or like Grand Theft Auto, like, you interact with the environment.
Yeah.
It's real. You can just kill people on the street and the police come after you,
I mean,
right?
think about the Mandela effect. I mean, who knows? Maybe we're, who knows? It
Yeah.
could be everything. I believe in reincarnation. I believe in it all.
I
Why
think
not believe in it
reincarnation
all?
is 100% real. Do you know anything about the Anunnaki? You familiar
yeah.
with all that? Oh, God, man.
I love the Roman Catholic Church around that time. Let's just say that.
we just covered so much topic in so little time. We're gonna have to do another one of these. Would you come back?
Oh, yeah.
And talk about some of that
For
other
sure.
stuff. I would love to do a whole episode on the Anunnaki alone. And Grok, I don't know if you use AI at all.
Oh yeah, I love AI. It's so much
Which
fun.
one do you use?
I use all of them.
Okay, so you're familiar with Grok?
I
though.
don't use Gemini. Out of all of them, I think I haven't used Gemini, and I've done that on purpose.
Yeah.
But Grok is definitely I pay the $30 a month and everything.
Okay, so hold on. What are you paying for? What are you getting that I'm not?
Deep search, like real time deep search, like it even goes on the black web.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Like I'm paying $30 a month for something like really deep like that. I think that's what I think. I think I'm paying for.
I hope so. Well, it's
I
been
don't know.
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you
definitely.
for coming on.
Yeah,
We're gonna wrap
for
it up.
sure,
We
for
got
sure.
so much more to talk about. It would take hours.